but sometimes they can give us some of the best racing.
Yeah, and one reason for that is the 10mm restrictors in the exhaust and engine block that is used for AC40 rookies. So that is going to make for longer corners. The riders learn to take the corners faster, and that's why we see more outside overtakes rather than the aggressive power delivery that you see with the 15mm restrictor plates in the AC40 Pro class. And that is why overtakes are crazy, they're unexpected, and crashes are definitely not at a minimum with such a large class.
Just get word from race control. The 55, Grayson Mills, has been given a penalty for a jump start. Easy to do, and we've seen it all the way through the season. And to be fair, credit to race control for catching it in a grid this large in the rookies. 5 laps left to go, though. We are just approaching half distance in this race. Grayson Mills, as a result, will drop down to P8 and some just 0.8 of a second off the back of Jack Owen in what is now a race against time between the two of them. Through turns 4 and 5, the double left-hander, double apex, Jamie King's favourite phrase off the back of his track guide. And there we can see one rider stationary off the exit of turn number 5, that run in towards the chicane. Not entirely sure as to who that is, but we have seen a couple of reliability problems and a couple of incidents as well over the course of the season. And well, that's just the name of the game when it comes to motor racing.
Yeah, this is where the kids learn to deal with those issues and come back in the next one and do better. They're going to be crying, they're going to be kicking, they're going to be screaming, and really upset about that, as we see in all forms of racing when things go wrong for these kids. But that just shows their passion to win, and a passion to win that we're seeing from Harry Burridge to put in incredible performances like this and keep this dominance going in the AC40 Rookies Championship. But will that be stopped maybe even as early as tomorrow or when we get to Ella Park? Because I mentioned earlier how some riders have more experience at one track than the other. None of these riders, well, most of these riders haven't done a full championship of FAB-Racing yet and haven't had the experience. So with 3 laps to go, Harry Burridge trying to make the most of his incredible pace, but I think it's that kind of pace and that kind of confidence that is going to carry on, and Eros Garrett has got to find a way to combat that, as the gap is now at 4.1 seconds. You feel like that is a done deal now, as long as Harry Burridge can stay on it, but Bobby Baker as well, he's in third. The gap's really big between the podium battles, but we're seeing one battle really close here.
Yeah, indeed. That's led the 77 of Theo Tyler 1.1 seconds off the back of Louis Elamelec for P8. So Theo Tyler leading the train for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, with Imogen Vivas, Savannah Polden and Hudson Heaps all applying some of that pressure. Points all the way down, by the way, to P15 in FAB-Racing. So each of these riders are fighting for championship points, and in such a huge grid like the rookies, you know, only half of the field are actually going to go and score those points. So valuable in the overarching championship narrative. The 127 there you can see of Savannah Polden, sister to, of course, Daisy, both of whom represent the House of Moto highest achieving female rider award, as has been the case for the last few years, celebrating female talent, the likes of Nelly Nuth, most famously, of course, as she ascends through the ranks. There's the battle, though. 4-way fight, the 77, Theo Tyler in P9 under a little bit of pressure. Hudson Heaps drops back behind Savannah Polden for P11 and P12, but you can see 4 riders nose to tail. Not really too much in terms of overtaking happening. There's particularly maybe the number 9 of Hudson Heaps going for one to the inside of turn number 3, but these are the environments that these riders have to get comfortable in as we head on to the final lap of the race.
Yeah, and when they run into lap riders as well, that's going to teach them to be patient and understand that there's probably a better idea to wait and let everyone else rush past you to get past this lap rider and end up putting themselves on the wrong side and then allowing you to go up the inside. But yeah, 1 lap to go. Harry Burridge on incredible form that can't be stopped at the moment, and proving that in this AC40 Rookies class, every single race we have a dominant force. As I just see him out the commentary box window dealing with some lap traffic, no problem at all. Harry Burridge now through the final few corners. Incredible, purely incredible. We've seen it in all the races so far in AC40 Rookies. Dominance is not rare, but it is always fantastic. Another great performance from Harry Burridge, who now crosses the line to take victory in the AC40 Rookies class once again. What can Eros Garrett do to take victory? And again, Bobby Baker, how can he challenge that top 2 with such a big gap to them in front?
It's going to be difficult, but, well, All to be answered, I suppose, over the course of this weekend. Harry Burridge now 4 race victories in a row, the most of anyone in the AC40 rookies class. Eros Garrett still leads the championship. A P2 is enough, but the gap closes to 15 championship points. Will raw consistency be enough for Eros Garrett, or will he need to step it up, find that extra margin? Because in terms of best lap times, 0.6 of a second separate Harry Burridge and Eros Garrett. Bobby Baker, though, brilliant ride from him, will take what will be his second podium of the season. He finished P2 back at Clay Pigeon in race number 3. He finishes P3 in race 1 at Hooton Park.
Yeah, Eros Garrett still has something little to find, and that's the pattern that we keep seeing in the AC40 classes. Someone is dominant, and there's someone in second place that has to find something. And in the AC40 rookies class, with lap riders I've just mentioned, that can make such a big difference. On that last lap, that gap between Burridge and Garrett went from 7 seconds down to 3, and I believe that was because of lap traffic. Given a few more laps where Harry Burridge is going to get caught up in more of that, Eros Garrett could have another chance. Of course, he can't control how many laps there are, but it is definitely something that he has to keep in mind. If he can just get that gap a little bit closer, it could offer him an opportunity when more things like that happen to Harry Burridge in the lead.
Yeah, the technicality of Hooton Park is challenging in that aspect because of the lap riders. And for a lot of the classes, it won't be a bit of a problem. Everyone should be fairly close on the lead lap. But with the rookies, you know, you've got riders that have done it for near enough a season, and other riders who have, you know, this is their first race meet in its entirety. So you've got a huge skill range, a huge disparity between the fastest and the slowest. Everyone's still learning, of course, but what it does mean is that those that are fighting at the front have the added challenge of having to make their way through the lapped traffic. Of course, thank you for joining us this weekend. You haven't missed anything. If you are now just joining us, we are going to be replaying any of the missing races at the end of the broadcast up here in Liverpool. The signal not ideal in the slightest, but don't worry, you will not miss any of the weekend's coverage. Round number 3 of the MasterMac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, brought to you by Motorsport Radio. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Riley Davis in the commentary box as we've ticked off what was the third race of 11 this afternoon. Next up, of course, we'll be taken to the Inters, but you have to say a brilliant ride there from Harry Burridge. That's going to wrap it up for Grassroots to Grand Prix. Thank you to them for their support of the series, and perfect, I guess, embodiment of the Grassroots to Grand Prix mission that FAB-Racing embodies as well. We'll see the rookies out next time tomorrow for race 2 and 3 of the weekend.
We now get on track for the AC40 Interclass, the final AC40 class for the day. Of course, more to come tomorrow. Make sure you're with us live on Sunday. We're not going to spoil what happened in that AC40 Pro or AC40 Rookies class race. They were some fantastic races, especially that Moto Team race. Do not miss that one. Don't miss anything here at FAB-Racing as we get ready for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interrace to come along. That was an incredible show at Lid. And something that I want to mention is Jensen Brown had quite an off round at Clay Pigeon. Are we going to see him come back? Or are we going to see the continued dominance of Austin Baton, who was on incredible form? But looking at the grid, Albie Stone, a name that we've been saying many times in this class and in AC40 Rookies only at Lid, is on pole position and showing that he might even be going up to AC40 Pro by next time out.
He's accelerated his way through the ranks, has Albie Stone. And yeah, like Harry Burridge, dominated around in the rookies. He then stepped up into the Inters, was 3rd, 4th and 3rd back at Clay Pigeon, and now has found some speed. Maybe he's done some testing or has just really clicked with Hooton Park. He's taken pole position for this race by just over or just under a second from Daisy Grayson in P2. She comes into this P3 in the championship, but just 15 points separate the top 4 of Baton, of Paisley, of Grayson and of Brown. So it is all to play for in the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass. Albie Stone alongside Daisy Grayson, Logan Paisley and Oakley Hipwell, your front 2 rows. The lights on the gantry go out and we go racing. That race towards turn and 1. A good start there from Daisy Grayson, but an even better one from the pole man of Albie Stone. Daisy Grayson, though, the number 19, a good initial start, tumbles through the pack as they negotiate the opening corner. What a start, though, for Albie Stone as he pursues his first victory in the Inters.
Yeah, Logan Paisley did a great job to get up into second, but he's now being attacked by, I think that's Austin Baton. That's a brave move up the inside of the hairpin, one of the hot spots of overtaking, and a balance of tight lines and wide lines due to it being the middle class, literally Inter, in terms of machinery. So these riders balancing all they know in the AC40 rookies and learning what they need to know for the AC40 pros. But Logan Paisley already being overtaken by Austin Baton is... We see Albie Stone getting into that confidence and that zone that we saw at Lid and putting it to work here in the AC40 Inters. But it's not over yet as easy as it was in the AC40 Rookies class, is it? Because he's got some company behind him.
Yeah, the competition much higher in the Inters. Albie Stone leads the opening lap, but just by 4.5 tenths of a second. Chasing him down is championship leader Austin Baton off the back of 3 straight victories. Clay Pigeon will be looking to add a 4th to that tally. Behind that, Logan Paisley. Then comes Daisy Grayson, the pink and black number 19. You can see with the yellow number plate of the number 19. She's been doing fantastically thus far this season. Oakley Hipwell from Jensen Brown. The battle for the back end of the top 5 really firing up. Then comes Casey Reeson, Lawson Dorrington, Keely Bailey, and Chase Carter, the 10-rider field that we've got for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass. Key bit of intrigue, though, of course, this battle that we're following right now, Albie Stone, whose victories, he knows how to win a race. He did it in the rookies. Largely not under very much pressure. Not the case in the Inters.
Yeah, it's going up to that higher class. And in fact, it might be balancing it out. The AC40 Rookies was a bigger challenge for him in some ways because it was a much bigger grid. So he had to deal with rain as well at Lid and also lapped traffic. And he mastered that perfectly. So AC40 Inters, he's probably coming into this, seeing that it's such a small grid and going, okay, I've missed a round. I could probably still win the championship. And if he carries on like this, he's definitely got a chance at it, having only missed 1 round points-wise. But still on his tail is Austin Baton, who is so dominant at Clay Pigeon and looking to continue that amazing run of form. But we're already getting a little bit of deja vu from Clay Pigeon as the battle for third between Logan Paisley and Daisy Grayson returns, as it looks like Daisy Grayson trying to go through there a bit further back than I thought, almost caught the grass. But what was so impressive from Logan Paisley at Clay Pigeon was his defence. Now, what has Daisy Grayson learned? What has she talked about with her family and discussed about this track that can stop Logan Paisley and put him behind her once and for all?
Get your elbows out, be a bit more punchy, go for the moves. I think that was the only thing that dropped Daisy Grayson down a little bit. Maybe lacking a little bit of confidence to go for those crucial do or dive moves. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place to be cautious. There's definitely a time and a place to be aggressive. And look at the way that she's riding. Bit of a shake of the head as she exits turn number 5 as well. And through the right-left chicane of turns, I hate to say it, turn 6 and 7 as we round off the lap with turn number 8 at the back end of the circuit. Really opens up, and Daisy Grayson hot on the rear wheel of Logan Paisley for what will be the final place on the race 1 at podium. Albie Stone sets a new fastest lap of the race, though. Bridges the gap between himself and Austin Baton by another 1/10 of a second. Up now to just under 4 tenths. Onto the back straight once more, and that run towards turn number 3. Daisy Grayson all over the rear end of Logan Paisley, but can't quite find a way through. Have to say, Paisley's biggest attribute, I would say, his composure to keep his calm when he's got, of course, a rider who now is aggressive as Daisy Grayson just over his shoulder. He's doing fantastically to focus on the race ahead of him.
Yeah, and when you're so young in these AC40 classes, having someone who's older than you and with experience in those same classes in the form of Riley Paisley, his older brother, that can really help you gain more confidence and be more aggressive. And it's not aggressive because he's not going for moves, but his defense is aggressive. He's pointing it to the apex. He's denying any chance of a move for Daisy Grayson at any point, any spark that could make her think that, okay, I have a chance here at getting third place because I'm definitely faster. Logan Paisley putting all those hopes to rest, but he's still got 5 more laps to contend with. And I just want to say, on my notes, I put Albie Stone looking to continue to challenge for podiums. Well, I can just screw that up and throw it out the window, because now we're seeing him pull out the gap to 0.6 of a second for Austin Baton behind him. Incredible, isn't it? As we watch Daisy Grayson once again taking those inventive lines to try and find every possible way that she could get through on Riley Paisley. Now, with 5 laps to go, I will say she has a bit more time to plan it out than last time at Clay Pigeon.
On the coattails, and she's been able to, I thought for a moment that she found a way through. The depth perception there, not 100% on my end, to be honest, but she's all over the rear end of him, ducking and diving and searching for the gap, not quite to turn number 2, but applying that pressure, making Paisley think, is she going to go for it in an unexpected place? Do I have to defend these, unorthodox overtaking opportunities? And that's the sort of psychological pressure you want to put on, even at such a young age, of course. You know, you're learning those skills, how to apply that pressure, how to deal with these race environments. Right now, both of them doing a phenomenal job. Paisley's keeping his composure. Daisy Grayson applying the pressure. Looked to the inside of turns 5, but couldn't quite manage it. Now towards the chicane. 3 laps left to go at the line. Albie Stone now growing the gap to just shy of 8.5 tenths of a second ahead of Austin Bates. And the two of them sharing a brilliant battle this weekend in terms of just how close they are on pace. Out of the final corner, though, cannot take our eyes off this fight for the podium. Nothing coming to fruition, though. Paisley defensive towards turn 1.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of an effect on Daisy Grayson and Jensen Brown, who are currently 4th and 5th in this race. They were arguably the top two, the fastest two. They were incredible and locked in battle, hard battle at Lyd. And now, coming to Clay Pigeon, they've realised, hang on a minute, is this just this track, or am I really struggling here? Is this championship not going to go as well as I thought? Challenging for victories every single time. And unfortunately, I'm going to say I don't think it was the track. Daisy Grayson and Jensen Brown struggling a little bit more here than they were at Lyd. But Daisy Grayson has got that carrot to chase, and now that gap coming out even more for Albie Stone, gaining confidence every lap and every day. Only a few more days, I think, until we find out he is an AC40 Pro. He could go in as early as tomorrow, which I don't think is allowed. But that I wouldn't be surprised at how incredible he is. Going from these faster bikes and learning the different lines required for them, it's incredible. It's reminiscent of Pedro Acosta in MotoGP and how quickly he adjusted to MotoGP, winning Moto3 in his debut season. And if he keeps going like that, going through classes with such amazing skill to adjust and adapt and learn, then teams are going to be queuing up to sign him.
You can definitely tell, and you can see the potential, and you can see the riders that make the difference. And Albie Stone, absolutely one of them. The gap between himself and Austin Baton has grown to 2.8 seconds, the 100. Been getting caught up with a bit of lap traffic. 6 seconds off the back of that comes Logan Paisley versus Daisy Grayson. This is the final lap of the race, by the way, in the LS2 helmets, AC40 Interclass. Close battle in the fight for the top 5 as well. Just 0.5 of a second separate Oakley Hipwell from Jensen Brown, the 74 and the 171 in 5th and 6th. Very close battles all the way through, like I say, but Albie Stone has been the one to rise to the occasion. He couldn't do better than 3rd. Last time out at Clay Pigeon, through the chicane at turn 6 and 7, and now in towards the final long right-hander at turn number 8. He'll twist the throttle. He'll see the checker flag first, and for the first time in Inters, Albie Stone will take victory at FAB. Fantastic job there from Albie Stone to seal what is his first victory in the slightly more senior class in the form of the Inters. He dominated his debut weekend in rookies, and right now he's risen to the challenge and he's defeated the championship leader in the form of Austin Baton, who comes home in 2nd. Logan Paisley keeps his composure and finishes a mighty P3.
Jensen Brown was also 3rd in the championship coming into this because of his incredibly dominant first round at Lyd. A consistent ride for him to take home 6th place in a battle with Oakley Hipwell at the end. That gap being only 0.06 of a second. It's a shame we didn't get to see that, because that went right to line between Oakley Hipwell and Jensen Brown. Oakley Hipwell getting the position in the end. But another race where we're seeing a dominant force, and this time it's Albie Stone who returns to the top step, this time in another class. I can't think of any motorsport I've watched where someone has spent one round in a class after moving up and won already. That is fantastic, and I mean within a season, not a new season when they can have testing and all those different things. So yeah, Albie Stone, truly incredible, and Austin Baton, another consistent result for him to keep his championship lead alive with 2nd place. Behind him, Logan Paisley in 3rd, Daisy Grayson, Oakley Hipwell in 5th, Jensen Brown, Casey Reeson, Lawson Dorrington, Keely Bailey and Chase Carter rounding out those 10 riders in the AC40 Pros. But now we move off the small bikes and back to the big bikes. A reminder that we'll be replaying all the races that we had beforehand of this broadcast. It's a shame you missed them, because they were some great races. Those were Moto Team AC40 Rookies and AC40 Pro. So make sure that you definitely do not miss that. It'll be up in due time, and they were fantastic. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you are enjoying this broadcast. It is a very, very warm day here at Hooton Park, and I'm sure not only the riders will be feeling it, we can definitely feel it in the commentary box, Zach, despite our fan aid, it doesn't seem to be doing a lot, because this race is always good at Hooton Park. It's an amazing track for dive bombs, as we just saw there in the previous couple classes.
Yeah, very grateful to you, by the way, for bringing that fan. I have to say, it was sweltering. We both know the drive up yesterday was brutal, to say the least. We are going to keep moaning about it because we're British, and it's British weather, we're not used to it. A tame, was it 27 degrees today or something like that, which after the week that we just had, we will definitely take. Of course, for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass, that's going to wrap up their first race of the weekend. They'll be back out tomorrow for race 2 and 3.
And now we get going for the Mini GP50Rs. It is an incredible class of difference in machine making advantages. And it seems to me, as we are out setting up cameras this morning, seeing that class on track, Ovales have turned up in strong force. There was only a couple of them last time at Clay Pigeon, but after what we saw from Mason Frederick, everyone went to the shop and bought themselves an Ovale for this race.
They did indeed. And, well, the riders through the field, one of them who is sticking true to his Metrokit roots is Emilio Pereira, who leads the championship, by the way. 47 points. So far this season in the GP50Rs, he's taken 2 victories, but 6 podiums. He hasn't finished lower than third, has Emilio Pereira. Dubbed himself, of course, as El Toro. He's storming through both the 50R and the 50 category. However, starts this race at P3. He was 6/10 off the pole time set by Jensen Ansel, who starts alongside Mason Frederick on the front row. Like I said, it's Emilio Pereira, championship leader, alongside Tommy Williams on row number 2. Bo Morris, who had a couple of problems over warm-up, sort of a front wheelie, a stoppie into turn number 3 a couple of times for Bo Morris. He'll start this one from P5. He'll be looking to keep the bike on the ground through this race. Josh Perkins alongside him on row 3 with Freddie Taylor and Joey Athasic on row 4. Reed Saxby and Jensen Cedras complete the top 10 with Riley Robinson, Curtis Spinks, Nelly Newth in P13 from Jasper and Neil White sharing the 7th row of the grid. Oliver Wilson, Emerson Oakley and Claudia Dudman, the 17th and final rider to take to the start of the Metrokit Mini GP50R category. Of course, both Metrokits and Ovales on this grid. And Jensen Ansel coming into this weekend, P7 in the championship, only joined us for Clay Pigeon, took 3 podiums, yet to take victory, but from pole position, he's got a good opportunity to do it today.
Yeah, he's joined the train of Ovales. He came at the round at Clay Pigeon where the Ovales were the strongest, and he's never looked back. Starting this one off with pole position, I don't think he really needed that first round because it was mainly dominated by Metrokits. And now I think we may be seeing a season dominated by Ovales for the rest of it. We're about a third of the way in, so still plenty more action to come your way. Can Emilio Pereira stay on that podium streak? He's got many Ovales to deal with, and so is Tommy Williams and Josh Perkins near him, also on the Metrokits. It's 2-stroke versus 4-stroke, just like MotoGP was in 2002. But enough about that. We're here at Hooton Park for FAB-Racing at the Mini GP50R class. Gets underway now, and it's going to be a great start always from the Ovales as Jensen Ansel gets straight to the front. Incredible from him on that 4-stroke machine that gets the perfect run to get away ahead of the 2-strokes. Poor Emilio Pereira has been beaten off the line by those 4-stroke bikes, and unfortunately someone went down there off the line. And turn 1 is always going to be a mashup, especially here at Hooton Park where it's a little bit tight, and all these different bikes, 4-strokes and 2-strokes, can allow for different advantages. But now we're seeing Mason Frederick with the black showy helmet, the red suit on the Ovale, chasing down the number 22, the bright yellow one on the front of Jensen Ansel's Ovale 140. Mason was absolutely incredible last time out. He was unbeatable. And we were talking about his time out in Spain, how that teaches him to be a better rider. And are we going to see that be put into action here after a bit of a difficult qualifying for his level? Here he comes then, quickly making up for it, trying to find an inside move. Not quite available just yet. Jensen Ansel holding on strong. And now we're going to see this Ovale battle continue on. But the Metrokit is definitely not lacking as much as they were at Clay Pigeon, as Bo Morris makes his way up in third, ahead of Emilio Pereira, who may be in danger of losing his podium streak.
The low-end torque of the four-strokes just working really well. We saw it off of the line, and there's a lot of stop-start here at Hooton Park, and that's where the low-end power really going to come into favour at the Avales. Of course, it's Jensen Ansel, the 22, the blue and white and yellow of the 22. Then, of course, the black and the red of Mason Federic, who set the fastest lap last time through in the slipstream, and that long run towards turn number 3, the longest straight on the circuit. Not quite close enough on this occasion. Bo Morris started this race P5. Like I said, struggled a little bit in terms of getting the bike stopped in practice. No concern for that at the moment. He currently runs third, ahead of Emilio Pereira, ahead of Tommy Williams, Freddie Taylor and Josh Perkins, all involved in what is a 4-bike train, although Bo Morris bridging a bit of a gap. Following the fight for the lead through the final corner, though, Jensen Ansel under a world of pressure from Mason Federic off the back of 3 straight wins at Clay Pigeon.
And for those viewers who have seen the standings at the moment and wondering how are we saying that the Ovales are the dominant force when the top 5 are all metricates, barring Mason Federic in third in the championship? He wasn't even at Lid, and neither was most of the Ovale riders, and that's why it was metricate town. It seemed to me that the 2 strokes were slightly stronger than the Ovales at Lid, and that's why we saw incredible dominance from Emilio Pereira, and yet he still has a challenge on his hands. He's not quite dominating races this time, but he's looking to keep that consistency alive. El Toro trying to get back onto that podium fight as he follows Bo Morris. But Mason Federic and Jensen Ansel, they didn't need that first round. Now they're on these Ovales. They're incredible. Nonetheless, bike or not, they're making the difference here as they continue to go head-to-head for the lead.
Here it is, defensive to the inside. Parking in the middle of the circuit is Jensen Ansel. Mason Federic not able to find a way through. Turn 3 is interesting because it is probably the overtaking hotspot, but it's a tight entry that opens up on exit. So that race to the early apex, it is an early apex because you can get back on the power nice and early, tipping a wheel on the curb there. That was close to dropping it. But because you can get on the power so early, you aim the bike at the inside, similar to Mason Federic trying to chuck one to the inside of the final corner there. But the outside line does sometimes prevail, and rushing to the inside of an early apex corner does make it difficult, and that's why we're seeing Mason Federic struggle to find the gap here. Jensen Ansel's defense very, very strong. Federic has to get creative with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, I think he's quietly confident though. He's biding his time. He knows how strong he was, and he's waiting for an opportunity. There was one there, but you could clearly see that he didn't get too desperate to commit. He put it back in line and didn't risk going wide to try and find a dive up the inside, running them both wide or possibly even onto the floor. So he's got 7 laps to go. He's chilling. He knows he has the pace to stick with Jensen Ansel. He needs to just keep doing that, bring out a bigger gap, which is already enormous at 7 seconds between them and Bo Morris in third. With 6 laps now, he's got plenty of time to think of a way through. But Jensen Ansel has got the harder job of defending. He has no idea where Mason Federic is. He has no idea whether he's panicking looking for a move or whether he's moving all over the back of him. What does he do now?
Not much into turn number 3 on that occasion. Still 5.5 laps left to go. Jensen Ansel leading the way. His composure brilliant. Federic, though, again, applying that pressure lap after lap. Will probably be feeling a little bit frustrated, though. It's a warm day, and he's breathing in the exhaust fumes of Jensen Ansel. That's probably not going to be very helpful. You can see Ansel, though, he's learned, right? He's adapted. Federic went for one move down the inside of the final corner, and since then, Ansel hasn't even given him a sniff of the inside of turn number 8. Same 2 into turn number 1. He's just putting the bike slightly off the racing line that he can still carry the speed through the corner, but also not be susceptible to a late dive from Mason Federic. And that is exactly what you want to see from a rider at this level, is that level of dynamic defending and racecraft. However, Mason Federic with a good run off of turn number 3 there, not quite close enough on that run to the outside of turn number 4 and 5. Yeah, just got a little bit greedy on the exit there, did Jensen Ansel, to try and get the better exit heading up to turn 4, but nonetheless managed to keep the lead and slightly set up Mason Federic, which I think ruined his line into the following corners, turn 4 and 5, which is always 2 corners, but wow, it didn't hinder his line there. He nearly went for the move out of the last corner. Can't find the way through because their bikes are so equal. Can't find the difference in machinery to make the difference, like he was battling Emilio Pereira for very brief amounts of time in Clay Pigeons before he dominated. Now, this is probably not what he was expecting. A rival so close and evenly matched in terms of pace to him. But here we go then. The old story here at FAB-Racing and on kart circuits in general. That rider's making the difference, and the difference this time is the dominant rider from Clay Pigeon, Mason Federic.
the arguable favourite to win this race, unfortunately losing out some time there. Now he will be panicking. Now he will do everything he can to close back that gap, make Jensen Ansel think he's safe, and spring an attack when he least expects it.
I think it's a blessing in disguise that he dropped back a little bit, because now he can use that momentum. For so long in this race, Mason Frederick stalled behind Ansel. He couldn't really use any pace delta. Now that he can, drive back onto the rear end of Jensen Ansel, it might actually work in his favour to just get the move done in one fell swoop, use that momentum, use that forward charge to get him into the lead. Time of the essence, though, and they are catching the rear end of the rest of the pack. I think Oliver Wilson, Claudia Dubman and Emerson Oakley are the three in front of them that they're catching. So it is going to throw another spanner into the work. Mason Frederick once again onto the rear wheel of the 22. He wants to be the one to lead the charge through the lap traffic. 2 laps left to go as they cross the line. A brilliant battle in the 50R category. There's the 63 of Emerson Oakley fighting for position around the outside. Mason Frederick will give it a go, try and use that momentum. They'll split to the inside of the traffic. Jensen Ansel will hang on to the lead by the skin of his teeth, as they will now once again make it 3 wide towards turn number 3. Mason Frederick trying to spot the gap and dart their way through. Jensen Ansel somehow still leading this race.
They're both doing an amazing job to make sure that they get through safely and quickly. Both of them so good at that neither of them have lost time or gained time from it. It is really impressive from both Jensen Ansel and Mason Frederick, and honestly I don't know where to look. I can see outside the commentary window that Emilio Pereira and Bo Morris are having an amazing battle for third place, but we go back to this leading battle, which hasn't really been a battle yet. We haven't seen an overtake from Mason Frederick, but this might have been his strategy. Wait, because I will point out he is 0.6 of a second. He has set the fastest lap of this race, but he is 0.6 of a second off his lap record from last year, as he now looks for an outside move. That's brave, but he sets up a better run through the corner and allows him again for a better run through into turn 4 and turn 5. What can he do to try and find a move? Oh, he thought about it there, had to sit up. You can't, I don't feel like it's going to be enough of an opportunity into this last corner for Mason to find a way through, but he will come back and improve tomorrow. Here we go then. Jensen Ansel, he beats the dominant man from Clay Pigeon. He wins here at Hooton Park. A great job from the man on the 22, Ovale. Wow, an incredible performance from him. Bo Morris takes home third, just about even get to line. No, sorry, that battle I was talking about earlier results in Emilio Pereira just about continuing that podium streak. Fantastic from him. The metric kit seeming to be a little bit more better in this round, but Jensen Ansel, another great ride from him after pole position by a substantial amount. Mason Frederick has some work to do for tomorrow's races.
A very smug smile there from Jensen Ansel, and, well, rightly so. His first victory of this season. A brilliant ride to keep the composure, to ride the wave of pressure. Mason Frederick, though, you have to say, a valiant effort, and the added challenge of the lap riders. These two going head-to-head for the rest of the weekend will be one to watch. Emilio Pereira keeps his podium streak alive with third place from Bo Morris and Tommy Williams. A very feisty three-way battle for the final step on the podium. Behind that comes Freddie Taylor, Josh Perkins, Nelly Nuth. Then behind that, Carter Spinks and Reed Saxby, your top 10. You have to say, Riley, I mean, this weekend's good weather, good racing. Jensen Ansel versus Mason Frederick. It's good to watch.
Yeah, we're seeing in every class, I think, the dominant force being challenged just a little bit more every single time. Every race that we get into this season is gradually closing that gap, and that is proof as we now enter the summer section of the calendar where everything heats up. Two rounds a month almost. We've got Silverstone, of course, at the start of August on my birthday. I can't wait for that one. A perfect birthday present to commentate at the British Grand Prix. It is MotoGP and the grassroots riders who look to get to that stage one day and represent Britain on the top motorcycle racing stage. But nonetheless, they are there for the Junior British Grand Prix. Make sure you're there at the British Grand Prix of Silverstone. It's desperately in need of numbers, and I think FAB-Racing and all their action is the perfect way to bring that to us. We now get racing for Senior Mini Moto, one of my favourite classes over the last couple rounds. We've seen some extreme drama, chains coming off rapidly in their first race at Clay Pigeon because of those bumps flexing the chassis, and of course the aggressive application of throttle with these tiny little handlebars, big riders, and lack of speed that they have on exits compared to the kids on these mini motos because they're so much heavier. We've seen some amazing battles. Harvey Jeremy versus Tom Burt. Of course, that happened because of Matt Birkin's issues. Matt Birkin, the championship leader, I've said this already and I'll say it again, his main rival to his championship challenge is his own bike, as he, and I quote, said in that second race, it wasn't a chain issue, said that his bike went boom, boom.
Wise words from the multiple British champion in the form of Matt Birkin. Verbatim, by the way, I've seen the message. Literally just no complex analysis of anything, just it went boom. And sometimes an explanation, the simpler you can make it, the better. Senior Minimoto getting themselves ready to go racing. It'll be Harvey Jeremy alongside Josh Birkin on the front row of the grid. Matt Birkin alongside Tom Burt, the top two in the championship, with Andy Weedon and Nick Bennett behind that on row number 3. It's eyes to the lights for the first time this weekend, and we go racing in Senior Minimotos. A good start from the front row and a great start there from Matt Birkin as he tries to dart to the inside to gain a position. Nick Bennett also trying to get involved as the rear end of the field will negotiate the opening corner. Great launch though from the 45 of Harvey Jeremy, who took 2 podiums back at Clay Pigeon, including a race victory. The 45 will lead them through turn number 3 side by side in the fight for second though. Josh Birkin getting his elbows out versus Tom Burt as Matt Birkin desperately tries to get himself involved.
Yeah, you saw everyone throwing everything they had into turn 1 as they realised Matt Birkin in the bright orange and blue suit had the poor start. The championship leader, the dominant man, the multiple-time senior Minimoto champion, having a poor start, a rare sight to see as everyone shot for turn 1 to try and find the best track position possible to get involved in these front fights and take advantage of your championship leader at the back of this group already.
Great first lap, exactly what he needed to do. Got the launch from pole position, and the starts in Senior Minimoto, because of how heavy they are on fairly low powered machinery, does mean that the start is that all more important. Matt Birkin ends the opening lap in P6. Any race without sort of extenuating circumstances, i.e. a chain or reliability problem happening, Matt Birkin is 1. This is the first time on pure pace that we've seen him struggle to get involved in the fight. Harvey Jeremy from Tom Burt, the gap between Birkin and Burt in the championship, just 6 points. This could be the swing in the championship that Tom Burt needs in order to take it away from Matt Birkin. His ruthless consistency so far for the 68 has proven to be, well, good enough so far. And with another good result here at Hooton Park, like I say, it could be enough to, turn the tide ever so slightly. 8 laps left to go. Harvey Jeremy from Burt, from Josh Birkin, Andy Weedon and Matt Birkin. Last thing you want is your brother showing up on your turf in your championship and showing you up.
Yeah, maybe a specialist here at Hooton Park and choosing the track, the only track perhaps that he knows he can beat his brother in, and definitely coming along to this one to make sure he can beat him and not help out his championship situation, because now he's sat behind, not getting involved yet. I say yet with an emphasis because it looks like he's trying to make a move on Tom Burt as the battle heats up between Harvey Jeremy and Tom Burt. They had an incredible battle in race 1 when Matt Birkin had that issue. I believe it was race 2 where it literally went to the line between the two, ending in Harvey Jeremy's favour and pushing it up to 4th in the standings with an amazing round at Clay Pigeon. But Tom Burt, ever so consistent. The one race he DNF'd, pretty much the other riders top 5 in the championship had that same issue as well. So that duck on the back of his bike clearly allowing some luck on his side, but can that last? Of course, we see a lot of issues happen in these senior Minimoto classes. So with 7 laps to go, nothing is done and dusted yet.
And that's the beauty of racing, isn't it? You're always suspended in that sense of anticipation. Anything can, anything will happen to anybody. It's indiscriminate. Harvey Jeremy, 6 laps left to go in this race. The first of 3 for Senior Minimoto. Round number 3 of the MasterMac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship. Thank you for your company. If you are now just joining us, it's a beautiful day just outside of Liverpool here at Hooton Park, and well, the racing has been white hot out there on circuit. Jeremy from Burt, 2 contenders now in the championship, with Matt Birkin struggling slightly, and you're not seeing double. It's Josh in 3rd, Matt in 4th. So Matt, with the fast lap of the race, he's gotten that second wind, he's picked his pace up, he's found his rhythm. Is it too late in this race for him to contest for the lead?
Definitely not. 6 laps to go and he is lapping much quicker than anyone else, about half a second quicker than his brother at that point, about 0.2 of a second quicker than the race leader Harvey Jeremy. He is on the move, the championship leader, and you can hear the Jaws music getting louder as he approaches this podium battle. He's going to need, though, if he wants to win this race, I think he's a little bit too far back to challenge Harvey Jeremy and Tom Burt, unless a battle commences between the two. But they know Matt Birkin will get stronger as the race goes on. They may just be working together to score some extra points, but I'll tell you what, Tom Burt will definitely be looking for a second win. Despite his amazing consistency, he's still only got 1 win to his name this season and looks to change that in this race.
4 laps left to go at the line through the chicane. You can just see how much speed they take and how much commitment that they take on these senior mini motos. Tom Burt on the 68 trying his best to get on the rear end of Harvey Jeremy, but they've reached a bit of a stalemate last time through. In fairness to Jeremy, he was actually able to bridge a nice bit of a gap, but for the best part of this race so far, they've all been lapping within a tenth of a second of each other. One rider, though, who has turned up the wick is Matt Birkin. Another fastest lap of the race. Not really sure what the slow start was. Maybe, of course, there's a new engine for this round. Still a little bit of, when it's cold, maybe it's struggling a little bit to put the power down. Whatever analysis we could give, Matt Birkin will probably just put it into layman's terms for us and just say it was slow initially, but now it's actually back up to pace. Matt Birkin is chasing after his brother Josh, and then subsequently after that, P2. I think P2 would be a sensible aspiration here for Matt Birkin to minimise the damage in the championship. And so, oh no, he's gone off! Matt Birkin has dropped it all by himself.
No words at all.
Matt Birkin,
incredible. I don't believe what we're seeing, and we said 2 laps ago that anything can happen, and one thing that is very rare to see, Matt Birkin down on the ground, and that is a big knock to his championship challenge as Harvey Jeremy looks like he's pulling away now, and that is going to firmly place him in this top 3 in the championship. Now, can Matt Birkin's brother limit the damage and help him in the championship by going through on Tom Burt with 3 laps to go? Lap traffic to contend with, 2 bright green suits on these riders, so easy to see and easy to maneuver by, but still a challenge to get past. 2 laps to go. Harvey Jeremy, a strong gap ahead as the 2 behind him unfortunately got caught up by those lap riders, but they might have some bad luck with that, but they definitely haven't got the luck of Matt Birkin, at least in that race. He has remounted. He is currently in 6th place, so still some strong points on the board, and he could even get back into 4th place here. That's how fast he's been, and it's that poor start that's motivated him to push his absolute hardest to get to the front of the field, and it's reflecting that he is the best out there in senior mini moto. He has won so many titles, but with Hooton Park, it only being our 2nd time here for Fab, might not have the experience that he has at most tracks to push to that extra level.
I think he was just a bit desperate. He's frustrated and saw an opportunity to get back into P2, and like I say, it was a very sensible aspiration. Just asked a bit too much. Unfortunately dropped it, and it was a big consequence. One rider, though, who has been on top form, Harvey Jeremy, P4 in the championship. So far this season, 4 podiums, 1 victory. He's about to double that. Of course, that record for Matt Birkin has been beaten by Matt Birkin and also by Harvey Jeremy, more in favour of Matt Birkin, following the race leader there, though, of Harvey Jeremy, who did beat the lap record, albeit now it's the 2nd best lap that we've seen at Hooton Park. Nonetheless, he's going to double his win count of 2026. He's going to close the gap in the championship. He exits the final corner, and for the 2nd time this season, Harvey Jeremy will take victory in senior mini motos. Tom Burt, Josh Birkin, all the way to the line. In favour, though, of the 68, who takes the lead in the championship. Matt Birkin has had his woes in this race. He comes across the line. He finishes P5 on pure pace, on merit. He's got no engine or chain excuses for that one. He dropped it by himself, and that could be costly in the championship.
To be fair, though, it was a really good recovery from Matt Birkin to come home in 5th, his raw pace showing there. But Harvey Jeremy to come through in this 2nd round and this 3rd round after probably not the most competitive round at Lid. He came out the door swinging, and to start off this round, he takes victory 4 seconds ahead of Tom Burt, who started off his FAB-Racing career with a win, and now it looks like he's going to have to wait a while to get another one. But nonetheless, Josh Birkin, not the usual Birkin you see on the podium, but his brother in 3rd place. Andy Whedon taking home 4th. Matt Birkin recovered to 5th after that crash. And behind him in 6th, Nick Bennett, Chris Yeomans, Gary Eldridge, Kieran Roberts and Nicky Lewis rounding out the 10 riders in the senior mini moto class. But once again, drama in the mini moto class, but this time not mechanical, a mistake from the championship leader.
Yeah, uncharacteristic. Well, I say uncharacteristic. He has made a couple of mistakes in 2026. Issues on the cool-down lap, though. Is that Josh Birkin, potentially? It must just be the Birkin brothers' curse or something. There you can just about see Jamie King on the left-hand side of your screen there. Of course, the Birkin brothers, legends of senior mini motos. We'll, of course, see them at the Junior GP event at Silverstone on the 6th to the 8th of August. And what will be a really nice event for the seniors to showcase their talent on such a big stage. And, of course, for the senior mini motos. The first race, first blood here at Hooton Park goes the way of Harry Jeremy. But it's Tom Burt who takes the lead in the championship away from the reigning master. That is Matt Birkin. They'll be back out tomorrow for race 2 and 3.
But coming up now is the main event for FAB Racing. What is considered the premier class, the Mini GP 70 class by Amphibian Scaffolding. Thank you to all the sponsors for your support in FAB Racing for all the different classes. And of course, MasterMac, the title sponsor of FAB Racing. We can't do it without you. And we all want to go motorbike racing. So thank you for your support. And thank you to you guys watching this broadcast live and enjoying some fantastic racing on a Saturday afternoon here at Hooton Park. And of course, you can head to the website if you want to sponsor a class or get involved in any form of the operation here at FAB Racing. But right now, the main event is coming along and Sebastian Gazlowski riding the crest of a wave.
He really is. He comes into this as the championship leader off the back of 3 straight victories. Sebastian Gazlowski, unbelievable this year in the premier class of FAB Racing. Such an esteemed Hall of Fame in this class as well. Legends of British motorbike racing have come through the FAB Racing paddock, and it all starts right here in the 70s. They then go on, of course, into the Moto4 British Cup. Harrison Day, Henry McCartney, 2 of those that, of course, have done it and are doing it now in 2026. Harrison Day, the reigning champion, taking that next natural progression up through the ranks. Potentially, it could be Sebastian Gazlowski. It could be anyone on this grid, but Bradley Curtis only trailing Super Seb by 4 points. They each have 3 wins. They each have 6 podiums. And, well, who will be leading the championship come the end of Hooton Park? Who knows? But with Bradley Curtis starting alongside Sebastian Gazlowski on the front row of the grid, it's anyone's guess. However, I'm not seeing Gazlowski take to pole position.
Something may have arisen there for him. We've seen a lot of issues, actually, in the GP70 class. Frankie Watson being the most unluckiest person in the world and having more issues than not before he even got on the grid. So a real shame. But we get racing without the championship leader, Bradley Curtis, an opportunity to take advantage of as they all look to get on the podium. We get racing in the Mini GP 70 class here at Hooton Park. And it's a great start, as expected, from Bradley Curtis. And contact there for someone going on the grass. Not quite sure who that was. That might have been Daisy Polden, I think, going onto the grass. That's a real shame. A fantastic start to get involved in the battle off the line with Rex Austin, Caelan Ratcliffe. I'm not sure who the contact was with. I'm not going to write that off as Daisy Polden as we prepare to identify everyone as they come across the line to end lap 1. But Bradley Curtis clearly finding that 6-point gap will be gone as long as he can stay on the bike. Sebastian Gazlowski has got out there. I've just seen him on track outside the commentary box window, but at the back of the grid, and clearly disheartened.
Start from the pit lane. Sebastian Gazlowski here comes down the inside though. Caelan Ratcliffe dubbed the Hornet off the back of Clay Pigeon, up through on Max Johnson and through into second position. Now to try and chase after the leader of Bradley Curtis, who's already built such a big advantage in this race, looking to take the lead in the championship and to take his 4th race victory of 2026 in the Amphibian Scaffolding Metric Mini GP 70 Premier Class of FAB Racing. Sebastian Gazlowski, starting from the pit lane, will be looking to mitigate the damage and ride like his life depends on it, like his championship depends on it. Because when we get to the end of the season, it'll be races like this that Gazlowski will be grateful he picked up any points he possibly could.
Yeah, and the person going off there on lap 1 was Rex Austin, number 991, which is a real shame that he's unfortunately got involved in that early collision, which I believe was with Caelan Ratcliffe, just getting the shoulders out to defend his position into turn 2. He had a great qualifying result of 3rd place, and now he's got the hard job to do to fight back through. But this is one of the longer races in FAB Racing, 13 laps for him to do it. So plenty of time for Rex Austin to get back involved in this top 5 battle. But Bradley Curtis really taking advantage of Gazlowski's absence at the front. Started from pit lane. We'll have to find out what happens to him later. But Caelan Ratcliffe already in second, and we spoke earlier in qualifying for the Mini GP 50 class that his confidence is building, and in the 70 class it's proving to be the same.
So many talents in the Premier Class of FAB Racing. both past and present, and, well, some potentially the future as they ascend through the ranks. 11 laps, well, 10 and a half laps left to go. Bradley Curtis with a foothold over the rest of the field, 2.7 seconds clear from Caelan Ratcliffe, who comes into this round P3 in the championship, and currently P2 would be his best result thus far of the season. He's got 3 podiums, all of them third places for Caelan Ratcliffe. A nice move to the inside of Max Johnson a couple of laps ago sealed him up an extra place on the podium, but Bradley Curtis right now unstoppable. Sebastian Gazlowski still crawling around at the back of the pack. Maybe a problem with the bike. I doubt it's a problem with Gazlowski. He was looking quick through warm-up and ultimately did put it on pole position, so he'll be looking to remedy whatever issues he's suffering and bounce back for race 2 and 3 tomorrow. Nonetheless, though, for Bradley Curtis, this is a golden opportunity. As a championship rival, you don't often get these, and right now he is delivering to the best he possibly can.
Yeah, he can't afford to miss out on a victory in this one. He can't afford to miss out on any points. 6 points is the gap, and coming out of this race, if it stays like this, will go heavy into Bradley Curtis's favour going into Sunday's races. I just want to mention the battle for third of Max Johnson, Tommy Keats and Daisy Polden, those being 4th, 5th and 6th in the championship standings, all being so consistent and fighting for that top 4, 5 and 6 places, but none of them have got a podium yet, and currently, if it stays like this, going the way of Max Johnson, so all of them will be doing everything they can to beat the other to that first podium of the season. That would be fantastic for Max Johnson and put him in good stead for the rest of the season. But I tell you about putting good stead for the rest of the season, Caelan Ratcliffe, every single race showing us how he's improving and how he's staying consistent and staying calm during race conditions. Clearly, that issue on lap 1, on the warm-up lap even, at Lid, when he crashed and managed to get back on it, was a bit of a scare and might just be a blessing in disguise, because it showed him that he just has to be calm off the start, and that clearly is what we're seeing from Caelan Ratcliffe.
And sometimes you need to take the step back in order to see the path, in order to take the next step forward, right? Sometimes you do need to have the falls to know where the limit is, or to, make the mistakes to learn the lessons. Niki Lauda said that, a wise man learns more from his enemies than a fool from his friends, and sometimes you do need to make sometimes make those mistakes to learn those lessons. Rex Austin versus the 127 of Daisy Polden. This is a fight for the top 5, and down the inside goes the pink and black machine of Rex Austin to find his way through, and like I say, up into the top 5. 6.5 laps left to go here at Hooton Park for race number 1. The amphibian scaffolding Metrokit Mini GP 70 class. Yellow flags through turn number 3, though potentially a bit of an issue at the top end of the circuit. Not seeing any bikes stranded, though, so all seems to be clear as we pick up our race leader Bradley Curtis through the final corner. Nicely done. That gap extending 4.1 seconds. There is the problem. It's the 24, I think, of Maxwell Keats who had the problem down at turn 3.
A real shame for him as he was trying to make his way into the battle for the top 7 with Bojan Blazewski. But now we're looking at Rex Austin already making a charge. He charges at the inside of Tommy Keats into 4th place, clearly showcasing how amazing his speed has been going into this race, qualifying so well in 3rd. He's going to be frustrated, but I tell you what, Zach, with 6 laps to go, he needs to be really, really careful. The gap to Max Johnson out in front in 3rd is very big, and he has to just stay calm, because these are strong points that he can take in the championship, strong points especially that he can take out of Sebastian Gazlowski, who feel could continue to dominate for the rest of the season, so he has to make sure he finishes this race.
Gazlowski in P8 will be picking up some championship points for his troubles. Bradley Curtis will be picking up 25 for the race victory. So Gazlowski will limit the damage in the championship, and his 6-point buffer, he's currently 4-point buffer over Bradley Curtis, might be enough again to just mitigate the damage. It will probably be in the region of about 14 or 15 points come the end of this race, which is still very doable. The same problems that are befalling Gazlowski can still befall Curtis. It's a long season ahead of us. 3 races a weekend, 21 point scoring opportunities over the course of 2026, and a championship that largely is wide open. We've got 2 riders virtually identical in pace, racecraft and ability that will go all the way to the end. There is the 96, the Hornet of Caelan Ratcliffe, and right now in good stead to take his best result of the season so far.
Yeah, Max Johnson as well. Another mention for him, doing a great job in 3rd place, just getting the gap closed though. Rex Austin, ignoring my advice, doing a 39 0.895. A great lap from him, so close to the fastest lap of the race, and clearly showing he is pushing on, desperate for that podium positions. As I look out the commentary box window, he is definitely closing that gap. But I said it one lap ago, he has to be careful. He really, really has to be careful, because if he loses these points, these very important points that can get him a top 3 in the championship at the end of the day, it is really not going to end well. So he has to make sure this race does end well and stay on the bike in 4th. If he gets the 3rd, that's perfect. But now the gap between the leader and Caelan Ratcliffe is 6.2 seconds. So a big gap from Bradley Curtis, taking advantage, once again we'll say it, of his rival's absence at the front of the field. And Max Johnson a further 10 seconds behind. And going back to Rex Austin, he's done another amazing lap, this time the fastest one, a 39.534 from him. Can he catch Max Johnson and ruin his podium celebrations at the end of this race? I don't quite think so. 2 laps to go. How can he do it?
Max Johnson currently has not finished better than P5 this season. A P3 would mean the world to him. But 1.3 seconds separates Max Johnson from Rex Austin. A 1:41, the blue machine of Johnson, and then of course the 991, the pink and black machine of Rex Austin. I think there's been a bit of an issue on the final lap. Yellow flags on the straight towards turn number 3, but so far so good for Bradley Curtis, and so too for Caelan Ratcliffe. Did want to give a shout out, by the way, to Gazlowski, who again has not had the best of races in terms of finishing position, and the results won't show it, but he's done fantastically at mitigating the damage in the championship, and his pace after a slow start has picked right back up. His pace faster than the race leader of Bradley Curtis. In fact, the second fastest of anyone out on circuit. But there is our race leader, Bradley Curtis, searching for his 4th win of the season, and with it the championship lead in the 70s.
Yeah, nothing too crazy from Bradley Curtis. He's done a great job to just get out there and do what's comfortable. Comfortable pace that's not too excessive. He has got this win in the bag as long as he makes it through these last couple corners. There was an opportunity to grab, and as the 71 comes around the final corner, he grabs it with both hands and destroys that championship lead and takes the lead of the standings here in the GP70 class. He wins race 1 at Hooton Park, and a statement for him to keep his championship fight alive, and a great result for Caelan Ratcliffe, and that got close across the line there between Max Johnson and Rex Austin, as Rex Austin put in another fastest lap at the end. A fantastic shift from Rex to come back after that drama on lap 1 and get so close to 3rd place, just losing out on the final spot on the podium by 0.06 of a second. How close was that? But Max Johnson, a great job from him to get 3rd.
It's 7 from 7 podiums for Bradley Curtis, who wins the race by 6.969 seconds ahead of Caelan Ratcliffe. His best result of the season for Caelan, and by far the best result for Max Johnson. His first podium of 2026. Rex Austin, the fastest lap of the race, finished within 0.5 of a second, or just over 0.5 of a second of finishing on the podium. It was tight between the 141 and the 991. Tommy Keats completes the top 5 from Daisy Polden. Bojan Blazewski from Sebastian Gazlowski, scoring some crucial points and demonstrating that he still has got the pace to fight at the front. Maxwell Keats and Harry James, the lone retiree from that race, completes what would be a 10-rider field after the amphibian scaffolding Match Kit Mini GP 70, race 1 of 3 of the Premier Class in FAB-Racing. And you've got to give the credit to these young riders. They are unbelievable. The sun's shining here at Hooton Park, the weather beaming, and the temperature soaring. The wind's giving us a little bit of a respite, but it's still very, very warm, as we have alluded to, and will probably continue to allude to over the rest of the weekend. For the Metrokit Mini GP70s, of course, they'll be back out tomorrow for races 2 and 3. Will Sebastian Gazlowski be able to retake the championship lead? Will he be able to take the fight to Bradley Curtis? He's done the job in qualifying. He starts from pole position, provided that he can start. All to be answered tomorrow for race 2 and 3.
And now we move along. We had the Mini GP50 races earlier, and now we have Mini GP50 by Nova Racing. It's all Metrokit 50s. My apologies, we are going to pit bike 140. My notes being a little bit upside down, but that's fine. Pit bike 140 is an incredible class, and we can't wait to get this race underway. Of course, last time out at Clay Pigeon, we had Taylor Lawrence and Ollie Horner going right at it for an amazing battle all the way through the weekend. It was so good to watch, and it ended in the favour of Ollie Horner taking all 3 victories as the pit bikes now get back out there. I was wondering why I could hear 4 strokes and not 2 strokes, and now we look to see if Jamie King can keep that championship lead. We look at the grid to see the returning Chris Wells on the podium. Fresh back from the TT, a bit of a break after missing round 2, and still, thanks to Ollie Horner and Taylor Lawrence, keeping his championship hopes alive.
Indeed so. Jamie King, a multiple-time champion at Pit Bike 140, and coming into Hooton Park, very confident indeed. He gave us a tour of this fantastic circuit earlier on today, and ahead of the pit bikes, let's take a ride on board with Jamie King.
Right, so here we go, guys, a lap of Hooton Park here, just outside Liverpool. Down this extremely long start finish. Use the pit lane as you go into turn 1 extremely fast. Out onto the curb on the way out. Second corner again on the curb on the way out. Then into this next right. Hit the first apex, let it drift wide all the way to the outside of the track. And then next, you got this double apex left-hander. Hit the first one, drift out wide, hit the second one, and on the curb on the way out. Through this fast chicane, first apex, second apex, keep it tight for this final right-hander. Hit the second apex, and then back down the start finish. And that is a lap of Hooton Park.
Jamie King's going to need a bit more than that if he wants to take the fight to his almost eternal rival in the form of Chris Wells, who is still confident that he can take the fight to Jamie King in the championship despite missing the opening 2 rounds of the season. Chris Wells, he was there at Lids. He took a second and 2 victories. He missed Clay Pigeon, and he's confident that he can go all the way and take the fight to Jamie King, who is yet to win in 2026. He starts alongside Chris Wells on the front row. There you can see the star-studded lineup, the 73 from the 76. Then comes Harrison Quincy, Stephen Humphreys, the front 2 rows from Simon Gates and Callum Maxwell. Perry Tomset on the 333 alongside Ivano Di Francesco. On row number 4, Daniel Cliff, Ben Simpson, Matthew Rayland from Adam Harris, Tom Wise, Roman Ratcliffe from Freddie Wadsworth, and John Goodenough. Will he be good enough from P16 to climb his way forward in this race? Jamie King on the front row. He said it's a race towards turn number 1. He knows how important it is, and especially alongside his good friend and rival of Chris Wells. The lights on the gantry go out, and we go racing for Pit Bike 140s. An average start there from Jamie King. He's alongside Chris Wells towards turn number 1, but he swoops around the outside. Pit Bike Sonic takes a crucial stab in this race, and through the opening corner will take the lead of the race from Chris Wells. Now we begin the ascension towards turn number 3, and Jamie King has got the lead. He's got the measure, and he knows how important that was. He got the start that he needs to, but it's a long race ahead of him, and he's got Chris Wells right over his shoulder.
Yeah, Chris Wells maybe just struggled a little bit off the line there, and that allowed Jamie King to get the jump on him and take the lead before we even got to turn 1. And that is exactly how he instructed us how you would go about a race here at Hooton Park. It's all about the runs to turn 1. He took his own advice and he listened to it. Wow, a great job from him to do that. The number 76, the championship leader here, as you said, hasn't won a race yet this season. I'd say slow and steady wins the race, but you wouldn't call the championship leader slow now, would you? As he leads this race ahead of Chris Wells. Someone to watch out for is Harrison Quincy, actually, who took all 3 victories here last year and started an amazing run of form to take the championship from this point on. So they've got to watch out for him. But right now, Chris Wells has to watch out for Jamie King because he is on a strong run at the start of this race. 12 laps to go, and Chris Wells has got something to do if he wants to get past. Harrison Quincy dropping a little bit off these 2 at the moment, but it's a long race. Like we saw in the GP70s, one really long race, things can change completely. Of course, if you're watching that, you would have seen Rex Austin having that moment and going onto the grass on lap 1 and with his amazing pace, fought back through the field to fight for 3rd place, eventually ending up 4th. That was a really close finish, and hopefully we get another close finish here in the Pit Bike 140s. But yeah, as I was saying, Zach, got to look out for Harrison Quincy as the race goes on.
Yeah, he's currently running in P3, currently running P2 in the championship as well as Quincy from Simpson, who is down in P16 in this race, so going to be losing out in the championship battle. 10 laps left to go at the line. King from Wells, and, you know, Jamie King, he doesn't want handouts. He doesn't want to win by virtue of the main rivals not being present at a round. Don't get me wrong, he's not going to complain. Three Sisters a couple of years ago ended a 3-year win drought for Jamie King, and he, we're still best pleased. But it's races like this that I think are going to taste that little bit sweeter. To take the fight to Chris Wells, a rivalry that the two of them got, and two riders, two legends of pit bike racing in the UK and internationally as well. To be fair, they do so much for the sport, raise so much awareness for it, and right now they're P1 and P2. Jamie King from Chris Wells, they were separated by just over 1/10 of a second at the line. Chris Wells the one with the pace, but Jamie King the one with the track position. It's tight, it's twisty, it's technical here at Hooton Park, and Jamie King with the track position has got the advantage, but who knows what can happen over the course of the next 10 laps.
Putting all of his racing efforts into FAB-Racing and minibike racing in general. He said to us he's selling his Ninja 300 that he's been using for a few wildcards at FEMC because he's focusing completely on this. As something came off someone's bike there, I'm not quite sure what that was as the camera pans across to try and pick up what that is. I can't quite see what that is on this screen that we've got in the commentary box. With 9 laps to go though, the riders avoiding whatever that was on track, but at the moment it's not looking like it's costing anything. I think it came off Chris Wells' bike, but if it was something important, he would have stopped by now. And nothing can stop the force of Chris Wells from piling the pressure on Jamie King, who needs that win to continue his championship charge for the rest of the season.
Jamie King, incredibly consistent. A look down there, though, maybe a missed gear, and that's not going to be filling him with confidence. You've got to have that trust in the bike underneath you. And Jamie King maybe not quite got it at the moment. They accelerate their way past the bit of debris that one of them left a lap ago. 7.5 laps left to negotiate in this race. Jamie King, full of consistency, as he always is in pit bikes, very rarely outright the fastest, but he always picks up second, third, pretty much all the way through the season. In fact, he's not finished any lower than 5th, and that was on one occasion, which was race 2 on Sunday, which was very early in the morning, and Jamie King's shenanigans left him ailed on Sunday morning, let's say, with Taylor Lawrence. And a very nice night on the Saturday. Jamie King, other than that, has finished on the podium down the start-finish straight, using the pit lane to open up the opening corner. 7 laps left to go. It's King from Wells. This is the most, the closest battle on circuit. Arguably, maybe one of the most important ones as well, in terms of two champions battling it out at the front end of pit bike 140s.
We saw a duel between Taylor Lawrence and Ollie Horner last time out at Clay Pigeon, and now we're seeing another duo at the front of the pit bike 140s. The age-old rivals of Chris Wells and Jamie King, older than most of the riders in this paddock. No offence to them, it is the adults class, of course.
Combined,
putting in the work though on these 140 pit bikes and showing why he is pit bike Sonic. He looks down there again. Clearly, I think whatever that was might have just come off his bike and making an issue on his gear shifting on the straight, going up to what might be 4th gear at that point as he hits whatever we predicted may have been dropped by him. I can't quite figure out what that is and why it will make a difference on his gear selector. So possibly just him struggling to hit the gears. 6 laps to go though. Chris Wells biding his time. We've seen this enough times already today. Someone waiting for an opportunity. Mason Fedrick trying to get through on Jensen Ansel. It didn't quite work. He waited too long. He probably would have wished to send a dive earlier on, and now as the lap traffic gets involved, things get juicy in the pit bike 140 class. We reach the halfway mark. These are the things that make a difference in pit bike 140s. Oh, that was close. Chris Wells thought about a move and he panicked. His experience, thankfully, helping him out there to think a lot better than that. And remember that he doesn't get paid to race here like a professional racer would, and it's not worth going for those dives because there's no win bonus on the end for it.
Well, if it means you don't lose to Jamie King, and that is an accolade that Chris Wells does not to him. Jamie King does in fact want the accolade of beating Chris Wells. He goes over the curb there. That's going to cost him the lead side by side to the chicane, and Jamie King is forced to concede. Chris Wells takes the lead of the race with 4 laps left to go at the line. It was a misshift on the exit of turn number 5, and that could well cost Jamie King his first win of 2026. An issue potentially selecting the gears, and at the dying stage of this race, it could well have all come undone. He's lost the track position, and Chris Wells is once again back in control.
The small army of pit bike Sonic fans on YouTube cry out in shame as their man unfortunately drops back to second in this race. Of course, the resident YouTuber of FAB-Racing is Jamie King, also known as Pit Bike Sonic. Check him out on YouTube, where you get to hear mainly for our amazing commentary, a few clips here and there, viewing me talking Zach about his races. We've been able to talk about him a little bit more this weekend because he's been up at the sharp end. But can he return to the sharpest end that he's been at so far in this race. Chris Wells has been waiting for that moment to go through and is now pulling the pin. Jamie King is going to be moaning about this one on the YouTube, but he's still got 2 more races tomorrow. So for the sake of the fans watching the video, let's hope he regains the gap and continues the fight for the win.
I love how quickly you cotton on to the idea that we just spend all of the pit bike races rinsing Jamie King as best as we possibly can. I've never been prouder of you, Riley Davis. We mean very little malice from it when it comes to Jamie King. We know he can take it. He loves a bit of banter, and it definitely gets him some clicks on YouTube. Nonetheless, Chris Wells will be looking to seal the deal, and what a statement this could well be in the rivalry between them here at Hooton Park. Jamie King knows that he needs to beat Chris Wells at least on a couple of occasions in order to keep the lead in the championship all the way to the end. He still feels like Chris Wells could well be a threat for an ultimate lap of the race, and look at the gap continuing to grow there. Jamie King staying on tabs, and despite the couple of issues, to be fair to him, is doing quite well, but just not quite got that extra edge now that Chris Wells is back in front.
Yeah, and he will say this when we hear him talking on his YouTube channel, again talking about his YouTube channel. It's like a post-race interview that I tune into plainly for that reason, just to see how he was going and what it could mean for the next couple rounds, as he's been riding the LRA Moto 190 quite a lot in the Extreme 200. But this is always his main focus, trying to get more titles to his name and to the name Pit Bike Sonic, as he looks down there again, clearly having some issues on the main straight as we enter the final lap. Can Jamie King respond? You feel like he can't. On the smaller bikes, it's easier to make a move in the final sector, but it's near impossible on these pit bikes. There's no room to get through unless there is a mistake, like Jamie King did, going on the outside curb. Chris Wells, though, still taking the defensive line, doesn't know how close Jamie King is, and they're approaching back markers as well. This could make all the difference, but is there even room for Jamie King to get through when they approach those back markers, if they do into the last corner? And around the last corner, will this make the difference? I don't think so just yet. Chris Wells pulls alongside him and takes victory. He returns from the Isle of Man, and he takes victory here at Hooton Park. A great ride from him on his return, beating Jamie King and Harrison Quincy, his long-time championship rivals, of course, the reigning champion last year. Harrison Quincy not getting off to the best of starts for the season, at least for his pedigree, but it will continue to build as it goes on, as this championship gets tighter once again, as Chris Wells makes sure we don't forget his name in the championship.
Well, a smile like that you could never forget, could you? Chris Wells beats Jamie King by just under 0.2 of a second. It was remarkably close, and Jamie King's issues, well, potentially could still bounce back from race 2 and race 3. Harrison Quincy, Stephen Humphries, and Simon Gates, your top 5, with Callum Maxwell, Perry Thompson, Ivana Di Francesco, Matthew Ryland, and Daniel Cliff completing the top 10. We have 15 finishes, and all 15 of them will take points at the end of race number 1. Chris Wells versus Jamie King, the reigning champion of Harrison Quincy there as well. Not the same form that we saw 12 months ago from the 755. He needs to find a little bit more. In fact, he needs to find a lot more on raw pace. His best lap time over a second slower than the top 2, who were both in the 41.8.
Yeah, a great lap from Jamie King to keep in contention, but he'll be very disappointed with that, because ultimately it was his own mistake that lost him that lead. But now we move on from Pit Bike 140. Mini GP50 comes along swinging now. We had GP50R earlier with 2 different bikes, so Vale and Metrokit, but now it is the single make series of the Nova Racing Mini GP50 coming your way. And Zach, some of the moves we saw from Emilio Pereira, El Toro, and the newly dubbed, thanks to you, Hornet in the form of Caelan Ratcliffe. You can see that bright yellow and black number 96 Metrokit Mini GP50. There was some daring manoeuvres at Clay Pigeon, and I think we're going to see more of that here at Hooton Park.
Yeah, they're good mates off circuit, but we build up the tension, we build up the rivalries. Be the case over the course of the rest of the season. El Toro versus the Hornet between now and Clandau, the 7th and final round of the 2026 season. Coming into this one, 21 points separate the two of them in the championship. 6 podiums for Pereira, 5 podiums for Ratcliffe, and between them, 4 wins for Pereira, 2 wins for Ratcliffe. They're the only 2 riders that have taken a victory in this class in 2026, and I'm sure that is going to be the case over this weekend as well. Here at Hooton Park, they shared the front row Only 0.2 of a second separated them after qualifying. It's Emilio Pereira that starts alongside his championship rival on the front row of the grid. Bo Morris and Tommy Williams on row 2, with Josh Perkins, Reed Saxby, Nelly Nuth and Jensen Cedras the front 4 rows. Oscar Rowland, Adele Everett and William Skingle complete the 11-rider field for the Nova Racing Mini GP 50s. Pereira and Ratcliffe, 21 points, like I say, and with still 14 races to go this season. It's anyone's guess as to who's going to come out on top, and once again they share the front row. You couldn't write it. These races, I mean, they just deliver the pinnacle of action. And there you can see Emilio's dad putting in a lot of effort. Emilio doing a test day recently, a race weekend at Raura a couple of weeks ago, was the only rider out on circuit when it was hammering it down with rain. And it's decisions like that and sessions like that that really do make the difference. He puts in the work, he puts in the graft, and well, he's been rewarded with pole position here at Hooton Park.
Yep, another one to his name, and it's not going to stop just now. But who can stop him in this one? Behind him, once again, his rival, Caelan Ratcliffe. And you may be wondering why I jumped the gun a bit earlier and said it was GP50s up when it wasn't. It was pit bike 140s. That's just plainly because this class has been so good this year that I just couldn't wait for it. I mean, who can't wait for it? It's going to be great, as it always is. Now, Caelan Ratcliffe versus Emilio Pereira. We focused on that enough now. Hornet versus El Toro. But behind them, Tommy Williams and Bo Morris. Another rivalry we've seen quite a lot of.
We have indeed. El Toro versus the Hornet. Lights go out. We go racing at Hooton Park, and a good start there from Emilio Pereira. Not the best of ones from Caelan Ratcliffe. He's under pressure from Tommy Williams. He's got Bo Morris straight down his inside to keep third position from the inside second row of the grid. Through turn number 2 for the first time, Emilio Pereira takes control of this race, but Caelan Ratcliffe has got the drive. He's got the inside line. Late on the brakes between the two championship rivals, and what a move from Caelan Ratcliffe. He takes the lead of the race down at turn 3.
What did we say? The first overtaking opportunity. There was an incredible move pulled off by Caelan Ratcliffe. He was miles behind going onto that straight, but he set up the exit perfectly, set up the move and went for it. Took Emilio Pereira by surprise, and they're both smiling in their helmets because they know this is going to go all the way to the flag. It was unfortunately decided due to a yellow flag last time out. The final race at Clay Pigeon, Emilio Pereira went through on the inside as they both went separate ways around a lapped rider. But you sort of feel bad for Emilio Pereira because he might not have seen the yellow flag, and of course it's that hunger to win, but nonetheless you shouldn't be overtaking in yellow flag conditions. But Emilio Pereira desperate to come back here at Hooton Park and challenge Caelan Ratcliffe again. But it looks like, Zach, this time they've got a bit more company on their hands.
Yeah, it's not a 1v1. There's so many more variables, and those variables come in the name of Bo Morris and Tommy Williams, who are knocking at the door of the top 2. So this could be a very complicated race indeed. 10 laps left to go at the line, but Caelan Ratcliffe crucially getting himself that track position that is ever so important here at Hooton Park. Ratcliffe from Pereira, from the white and red bike there of Bo Morris, the all-blue 51 of Tommy Williams. Then comes Josh Perkins on the 30 just behind that. Lap times, though, virtually, indistinguishable as, oh my goodness me, a big wobble there from Caelan Ratcliffe. He's kept it on the bike. Great control, and he keeps the lead of the race fantastically there. Pereira trying to strike and charge his way back into the race lead. Caelan Ratcliffe, though, he's got to catch his breath. He's got to get his composure, because the top 4, like I say, indistinguishable in terms of lap time, all of them within a tenth of a second.
Yeah, 2 really scary moments there. Once for Caelan Ratcliffe on the grass, having, again, a very scary moment. That could have gone very wrong, and Emilio Pereira did amazingly to avoid that, and then avoid the second one as he tried to charge his way through, as he is dubbed El Toro. Didn't quite make it work, and thankfully not, because that could have ended in tears for both him and Caelan Ratcliffe. And thankfully we have this battle still raging on for 9 more laps in the Mini GP 50 class by Nova Racing. Again, thanks to Nova Racing for their support as well. Bo Morris had to sit up on the exit there, a really poor exit for him. That's disappointing, as he lets his big rival Tommy Williams up the inside and into 3rd place. And surprisingly, despite how much he's featured in this class, Tommy Williams yet to get a podium. Currently sat 6th in the standings, and only 4th, 5th, and multiple results as well, all coming back to that moment at Lid where him and Bo Morris collided and denied each other a podium. Now he's dedicated more than ever to get that one on the board, especially now he knows Emilio Pereira and Caelan Ratcliffe will be battling their hardest at the top, and it can easily end in a corner's time.
Potentially so, but right now that gap is growing between Ratcliffe, Pereira and the rest of the field. Tommy Williams trying to settle into a bit of a no-man's land and take the path of least resistance to his first podium of the season. Bo Morris over his shoulder. He's got Josh Perkins. That's the battle for 4th and 5th. There are our 2 leaders. The yellow and black. The Hornets of Caelan Ratcliffe, then comes El Toro. Of course, the black and the blue 31 machine. There they are as they negotiate the back end of the field. I think just making their way through on William Skingle and maybe Adele Everett in a few moments' time as well. 7 laps left to go in this race. Ratcliffe, you have to say, fair enough, he had a moment, and that is a mistake that could have proven costly. But he got the bike collected. He kept the lead of the race. He's re-established his composure. And right now, fair enough, the race far from over, but a lot of riders would have immediately crumbled under that sort of pressure, knowing what's at stake in this championship. So far, Caelan Ratcliffe hasn't done that. However, over his shoulder, Emilio Pereira, I think that pressure is going to start to ramp up slightly as they are now free. We spoke earlier about it not being a 1v1. That is not the case anymore. It's the 96 versus the 31.
Yeah, and you speak about that confidence for Caelan Ratcliffe. Honestly, yeah, other riders would have crumbled under that pressure. And in fact, Caelan Ratcliffe 2 rounds ago would have crumbled under that pressure. But that boost he received at Clay Pigeon, that knowing thought that he can do this, he can beat Emilio Pereira, who was the dominant force at Lid as they make their way through lap traffic. Caelan Ratcliffe putting in the work to maintain this lead. 96 leading the Hornet from El Toro. It is going to be another fantastic battle to the flag. Where will Emilio Pereira show his cards? Will he wait? Will he bide his time? I don't think so, because they've both been sending amazing dive bombs on each other like it's the last lap. And may it continue as the amazing racing continues on. Tommy Williams continues to battle though and hold off Bo Morris for third. 5 laps to go, and can he defend? I don't know.
We'll find out. 51 from the 37. A nice rivalry. We speak of Ratcliffe and Pereira, Williams and Morris. It's balled over a couple of times so far this season. Bo Morris looks to the inside, gets it stopped, race to the apex, but Tommy Williams gets up and underneath him, gets the drive off the corner, and will keep third position. Well read there, and great racecraft from the pair of them. Bo Morris just to have the commitment to go for a move as ambitious as that, but Williams to have read it and to understand that going for a switchback was the better choice there. And the fight for third, I'm sure, is going to rage on. 4 laps left to go at the line. Ratcliffe and Pereira separated by less than 0.2 of a second. In fact, that's just grown because Ratcliffe putting the hammer down right when he needs to. 41.098 for Caelan Ratcliffe bridges the gap back to Pereira to 0.3 of a second.
And yet, some people might think that move from Bo Morris didn't really mean much. He's gone straight back to where he was in 4th place. But what that does is let Tommy Williams know it, gave him a little bit of a scare and made him sit up and think, hang on a minute, Bo Morris is there. He's right in this battle and he's not gone just yet. So that's 3 laps. 3.5 that is, for Tommy Williams to figure out a way that he can stay in front. But look at this, hang on, Emilio Pereira has got ahead of Caelan Ratcliffe as they briefly drove past the camera. Here we go then, the battle that we were promised. Number 31 versus number 96, heating up for these last couple laps. Both of them so close to the lap record of 40.9 by Sebastian Gazlowski. But I don't think it's going to happen in these last couple laps, because there's going to send dive bombs like this one as Caelan Ratcliffe forces his way up the inside, sits up Emilio Pereira and leaves him no opportunity to respond. Incredible, but already it looks like Pereira could respond into the next corner. Nothing just yet. It's all about that hairpin, and already Caelan Ratcliffe putting the hammer down and getting back through.
This season is going to be so good. Pereira, though, through those high commitment corners, we saw it at Clay. It doesn't do him any favours. He loses that momentum, and it gives Caelan Ratcliffe a little bit of breathing room. The 96 picks his moments brilliantly, goes for the sends into those heavy braking zones, getting caught up, though, on some lap traffic. That, I think, is really taxing me there negotiating. I think it has actually worked out in favour of Caelan Ratcliffe. 1.5 laps to go, though. And Caelan Ratcliffe, he has just been so brilliant. It was a small mistake a lap ago that cost him the lead. Emilio Pereira is still the one chasing after the Hornet as the ball to ride onto the rear end of the 96. 1 lap left to go, though, here at Hooton Park. Who's going to take first blood in this titanic championship battle between the Hornet and El Toro?
It's rare we see moments with lap riders end in the race leader's favour, because the rider in second usually uses them as a test mule and watches from an almost outer perspective and basically does whatever they do wrong. And with 1 lap to go, Emilio Pereira has closed that gap back up, and now we're probably going to see a dive here. Here he comes, he sets it up. There's not many other opportunities, so he takes this one up the inside. Caelan Ratcliffe is smart to respond, but it's not enough. He gets too greedy on the cutback, catches his rear wheel and does well to save it, but unfortunately almost going down there, and with it goes his chance of victory. But Emilio Pereira, we were just saying, Caelan Ratcliffe, a brilliant job from him to judge when to make it happen and make the move. But how about this throw from Emilio Pereira? El Toro plans it perfectly and takes victory here in race 1 at Hooton Park. The Mini GP 50 class is still his to dominate.
You have to say for the Hornet, that's going to sting, isn't it, for Caelan Ratcliffe? Not ideal in the slightest through turn number 3. Emilio Pereira making the difference and taking victory, his 5th of the season, and extending the gap in the championship to 26 points. Caelan Ratcliffe, though, a worthy adversary, bringing the battle, and we were treated to a classic there in the Nova Racing Metrokit Mini GP 50s. 2 seconds with a winning margin from Emilio Pereira, but that does not tell the full story in the slightest. Those two will be continuing to do battle through the rest of the weekend and the season beyond that. Bo Morris takes a sensational 3rd place and what will be his 4th so far of the season, denying Tommy Williams of his maiden podium in 2026. He finishes 4th ahead of Josh Perkins, who completes the top 5. Nelly Muth making some strides towards the front of the grid in 6th from Jensen Cedras. Reed Saxby, Adele Everett, and William Skingle, the top 10. Oscar Rowland, the sole DNS / non-classification, being, unclassified in that race, did not take to the start of that one. But Emilio Pereira, an important race there to sort of make the claim to showcase yourself and to sort of, to put the hammer down and to make the statement coming into this round. A very important round, potentially a turning point in the championship, and Emilio Pereira strikes it down and makes the move when it counted.
The truth is, Caelan Ratcliffe panicked at that moment. He knew when he saw Emilio Pereira coming up the inside, he's like, I have to get the switch back here because there is nowhere else to get a move done unless something dramatic happens, which it didn't seem like it was going to happen with their amazingly consistent pace. So you can understand that panic and desperation to get back up on the inside from Caelan Ratcliffe, as we see some top back Razgatlioglu-esque stoppy moments in the paddock from the number 37. I believe that's a Moto team bike, or Extreme 200. We will see, as next up is the Extreme 200 class. But wow, what incredible, wasn't it, from GP50? Again, that race, fantastic. Now we come along to Extreme 200. I've said so many times to Zach how incredible this class is. The difference in machinery always makes for fantastic racing. You've got 4-stroke Ovales. If you want to, like Henry was, there's none out there at the moment, but Henry McCartney was out there challenging for a podium on a KTM SX85. That's a 2-stroke, a modified motocross bike for road circuits. Then you've got this Ovale we're seeing here from Mason Fedrick. We've got GP70s, like we see exactly the same in the GP70 class. CRF 150s as well, pit bikes everywhere, from the senior class to the junior class. There is at least 6 bikes on this grid, and that makes for incredible racing due to the differences in machinery, allowing for different strengths. But yeah, Zach, how do we even explain how good that battle was for the podium last time out?
I'm just going to have to go and watch it, as simple as that. All available, of course, on the FAB-Racing YouTube channel. Plenty of archive races through the years, and definitely go indulge yourself if you want some entertainment over the course of your evening. Millions of views on the FAB-Racing channel, plenty of eyes on the stars of the future. Sebastian Gazlowski, contrary to the Mini GP 70s, will start this race on pole position once again, though, alongside Bradley Curtis, and those two finally will we get to see that rivalry in action here at Hooton Park. Sebastian Gazlowski, in the absence of Finley Pole, who has got an opportunity to take the championship lead here at Hooton Park, all to be answered over the next 12 laps.
Gazlowski is fired up and ready to respond after a disappointing race. Didn't get to start from pole in GP70, but Super Seb looks to create a super performance like he did at Clay Pigeon in Extreme 200. Can the 64 take revenge on Bradley Curtis? 64 versus 71 once again as we wait for the lights to go out in the Extreme 200 class. Extreme racing coming your way here at Hooton Park, and an amazing start from Sebastian Gazlowski. This time the pendulum swinging as Bradley Curtis goes down right to the back end of the grid. A devastating start for him, and this time Rex Austin up to second.
Yeah, devastating start there from Bradley Curtis, and one that could have already decided the fate of his race on the opening lap. Jamie King also trying to negotiate his way through on a slightly different bike to what we saw from the PB140s, but off the back of effectively bottling that race victory, he'll be looking to fire one back and at the very least take the victory in the Extreme 200 seniors. It's Sebastian Gazlowski, though, from Rex Austin on the 991. Then comes Tommy Keats in P3, with Bradley Curtis trying to find his feet and settle into the rhythm. He ends the opening lap after starting second in P4.
Tommy Keats did a brilliant job as well to get up to third place there. In the midst of all that drama, we're seeing Bradley Curtis drop so far back. But I'll tell you what, one lap later, Bradley Curtis dropped to about 7th and now 4th. Make it 3rd. He's gone up the inside of Tommy Keats with a fantastic move to get himself back into podium contention. I swear, coming out of turn 1, he was in maybe 7th place. And in a lap that's so short of 40 seconds, he's back in 3rd place and can still win this race. 13 laps, a long, long race here for Extreme 200s, and I'm all for it. I could have a 20-lap race at this point with how good this class is. But can Rex Austin, that pace he showed in the GP70s and that confidence he had to chop through the grid after a poor start, can he use that to beat Super Seb on this occasion?
We'll see. 12 laps to go as they cross the line. Gazlowski setting the pace, 39.486. Bridges the gap to Rex Austin to over a second. Bradley Curtis cruising on to the rear end of Rex Austin. Look out for the 71 versus the 991. Following a battle a bit further down in the pack. That's the number 12 of Thomas Med versus the number 22 of Jensen Ansel. Now, we saw a brilliant fight earlier on and a brilliant display from Jensen Ansel earlier on in the day. And well, right now he's running P7 overall and by virtue P7 in the Extreme 200 junior class. He's got his work cut out from, though, keeping the number 12 of Thomas Med at bay. Also as well looking and keeping an eye on the likes of Daisy Polden, who's got Scott Dermott over his shoulder and applying a little bit of pressure to the 127. Representing the House of Moto, Master Achieving Female Rider Award is Daisy Polden. And well, there's our fight for second place. Rex Austin versus Bradley Curtis, the 71 riding straight onto the rear end and once again contending for the high spots around the outside of turns 4, maybe 5 for the 71. That was ambitious, it was bold, it was brave, it was nearly brilliant, but Bradley Curtis applying that pressure and soon will probably be up in the second place.
Bold, brave, and unfortunately never going to happen, but that just shows you his confidence in this race. We thought he had a little bit less than Sebastian Gazlowski in that going into that GP70 race, but with how well he controlled that, I think that's unlocked a new level of confidence within him as he feels clearly that he can beat Sebastian Gazlowski, let alone catch up to him, as he does everything he can to get past Rex Austin, get him out of the way with 9 laps for him to chase down his championship rival as he looks for the inside once again there. That's not the easiest place to overtake, but it still looks like somewhere Bradley Curtis is confident enough to make a dive work. Still not possible just yet, but it's definitely something he's planning to do. Rex Austin holding on to second place, which will be a great result for him, but at the moment under threat as here comes Bradley Curtis looking for the inside line into turn 1. Oh, again, that confidence being on display for Bradley Curtis as the number 71 thought about a move and surely is going to look at the hairpin. To be honest, I've seen him look at moves everywhere except for the overtaking hotspots. So Bradley Curtis doing everything he can.
Yeah, he's given us a good race, which is all we want. Dark to the inside of turn number 4, but it's never really going to happen. It's too fast of an entry, and again, that second bit through turn number 5, his ambition around the outside was, well merited, and we were kind of rooting for a move that good to happen, but it just wasn't. 8 laps left to go. Of course, next time by, Bradley Curtis definitely has got the pace. He knows he's got the pace, but I don't think he wants to waste any time behind the 991. He wants as much of an opportunity to chase after Gazlowski and potentially win this race as possible. But equally, if P2 is his glass ceiling, he wants to take his time, not take any risks. Look to the inside of turn number 3, but Rex Austin has got it covered. Curtis very clearly has got the pace delta, but Rex Austin just not batting out of the way in the slightest. He wants to keep that P2 and is defending fantastically well from the 71.
Perfect defense so far from Rex Austin over Bradley Curtis at the moment. He knows how hungry he is to try and catch Sebastian Gazlowski, and that's why we're seeing Bradley Curtis look for a move at every single corner so far. Every single corner that he is behind Rex Austin is some more time relinquished to Sebastian Gazlowski out front, and in turn Sebastian Gazlowski sets the fastest lap of the race of a 39.1, 0.2 of a second off the lap record, the FAB record of Hooton Park, set by Harrison Day last time out, as once again up the inside looking for a move is Bradley Curtis, but Rex Austin still wise to it with that amazing defense that he just can't allow Bradley Curtis through. He was charging through the grid last time, but now he's playing the defensive role and he's doing it well.
6 laps left to go. The fight for P2, the most exciting out there on circuit. Gazlowski running away with it currently, as he'll be looking to take the lead of the championship in Finley Polehill's absence. Here comes Bradley Curtis, though. Look to the inside. Rex Austin not batting at all. The 2024 AC40 Pro champion is Rex Austin in a brilliant battle with Caden Ratcliffe and Mason Frederick. But around the outside, the brilliant battle between the two of them comes to an end as Bradley Curtis soars to the outside of turns 4 and 5. What a move from the 71 to take a very crucial second place in this race. 5 laps left to go as they'll cross the line. What a move from Bradley Curtis. 4 laps ago, we thought it was impossible, and the 71 has put that to bed and showcased it can be done.
Yep, he took my word saying that it was never going to happen and put them in my mouth. I'm speechless, to be honest, and how incredible that was. He's been waiting for a long time, and he's clearly been wanting to make it fantastic. He wasn't really looking to the inside that much, into the overtaking hotspot of that hairpin. Maybe trying to have some fun with this battle for second. Knows he can't catch Sebastian Gazlowski at this rate unless something dramatic happens in the final stages of this race, and perhaps looking to put on a show for us in the commentary box. And for that I say thank you, Bradley Curtis, but you've got a job to do now. Can you close the 4-second gap in 4 laps time? That is a big ask, but one that's not impossible if Gazlowski runs into lap traffic. It's the story of FAB-Racing, and it has been all day long here at Hooton Park, and more racing to come tomorrow, more lap riders to make differences, and more lap records to be beaten. 3.5 now to go, and a mention for Jamie King there, trying his absolute best to challenge for the top place in the senior class, currently running on the LRA Moto 190 he adopted for Clay Pigeon and Hooton Park. He's really enjoying that bike and some newfound confidence from him on that thing, but you can definitely tell he's prioritising his 140 racing, and rightfully so at the moment, because you'd rather be at the top of the grid whether it's a different class or not. Scott Dermott currently leading that senior class behind Daisy Polden, but here we see the ever-dominant Sebastian Gazlowski, a bit of a teaser as to what might have been if he was able to start on pole in that GP70 race.
Well, he's putting all those ifs, buts and maybes to bed because, well, this race has been absolutely incredible. From Sebastian Gazlowski, from lights out to now 2 laps left to go. It's not over yet, but Gazlowski's showing that pace and that brilliance that we've seen all season long. Currently looking for his 3rd victory in the Extreme 200s in 2026, and what will be his 6th podium from 7 races. Penultimate lap of the race for Super Seb Gazlowski. Bradley Curtis through and up in a P2 a couple of laps ago has dispatched of Rex Austin, and in fact Tommy Keats the last couple of laps has been about 3 tenths in favour of the number 8 relative to the 991, so well, in layman's terms, he's catching very quickly to the rear end of Rex Austin, and well, the 991's podium dreams could well be coming to an end. He's yet to do it. His best result, P9 in this season, and Rex Austin all the way up in P3, a huge bit of progress at this round at Hooton Park. It comes down to the final lap. Can Rex Austin hang on to the podium? Sebastian Gazlowski, though, a parade lap in what has been a glorified test session for Super Seb. He's searching for win number 3.
Yeah, proving that he had the pace to do it, he had the speed to do it, straight from pole position to dominate as Bradley Curtis did in GP70. Leg out there, hanging it down like Jorge Martin would, kicking his leg out right to the apex. But he doesn't need to be doing that, focusing so hard on all the apexes because he's that far ahead, Zach. 5 seconds for Gazlowski. He doesn't know how to win a race if it's not dominance, as the 64 comes around the final corner and adds to the tally of victories this season. Extreme 200, GP70, both classes are capable as he stands up and punches the air to celebrate his comeback and proves that he could have won that GP70 race, and he will win them tomorrow.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He might not. We'll see. It's Super Seb, though. It was a brilliant display from the 64. Bradley Curtis and Rex Austin, well, the young riders and the stars of the future, proving their talent. Gazlowski takes the win in Extreme 200s, his 3rd of the season, and with it takes the championship lead. The 64 making up for the woes that were the pit lane start in the 70s ahead of Bradley Curtis. Rex Austin takes his maiden podium of 2026 from Tommy Keats and Max Johnson, the top 5. Max Johnson having a mighty weekend after a podium in the 70s, finishing P5. Mason Frederick in P6 from Thomas Mayer, Jensen Ansell, Daisy Polden and Scott Dermott winning in the seniors ahead of Jamie King as well. And Scott Dermott mixing it up, actually fighting away with Daisy Polden, the two of them finishing just a quarter of a second apart. For the Extreme 200s, once again, a fantastic display in what is the most diverse class in the FAB-Racing paddock. Probably best described as a bit of a mosh pit of different bikes, and we saw it at Clay, we saw it at Lids, we've seen it over the course of the Extreme 200 history, and today here at Hooton Park, it has been, once again, exceptional.
Yeah, and a thank you to LRA Moto for sponsoring that class. Of course, the Extreme 200's another class of crazy action. And now, the final race, the only class to get 2 races on a Saturday afternoon. We thank you for your company and sticking with us as the stream issues are fixed. Moto team coming to you with race 2 on Saturday afternoon. Race 1 was a barnstormer to kick off proceedings between SFC and Acme Racing. And I think we're going to get round 2 out of 4.
We are indeed. Hooton Park, I mean, it's been brilliant, you have to say, and Motor Team was no exception. The sun very much shining. There's a bit of a breeze, which I'm sure everyone very grateful for. I have to say, I do not envy Lucy Curtis in the slightest. There she is, sort of being in charge of dictating when the riders take to the start of this one. Team SFC, though, an important victory versus Team Acme Racing earlier on in the day. Ian Jackson and Ivana Di Francesco row 2 ahead of the on row number 2 of the grid, I should say, behind Team SFC and Team Acme Racing, our 2 championship rivals. Race 2's grid for Motor Team dictated by the finishing order of race number 1 a bit earlier on today as well. So unlike the rest of the categories, the grid slightly different. It's done not exclusively from qualifying, but from the previous races results, and that's why it was so important. SFC took, of course, the pole position in qualifying. They lost the lead for the best part of the opening 6 laps of race 1, but lap traffic made the difference, and Team Acme Racing falling slightly short, ending their 4-race win streak. SFC firing one back and extending the lead in the championship.
Yeah, and now with an experience of 1 race back on the grid for SFC, piloted, of course, by the man who rode it at Lid, that being the very fast and dominant championship leader coming out of that class, that was Sam Claus. He's back on the number 333, but this time has the job of making sure Team Acme can't dart up the inside and find a way through. This time, he's got that experience, that racecraft, and amazing overtaking ability that he showcased in the previous race. Now, can he put it to the test and hopefully, for his case, have to overtake not once in this race? Here we go. Acme Racing, they have a job to do as they get ready. That number 8 green machine, the most sleek-looking bike, had some issues, in fact, at Clay Pigeon. Had to run out and grab another engine, or was that a lid? I can't really remember, because nonetheless,
rear subframe.
They've been incredible. Yeah, rear subframe. Getting confused with Matt Birkin. But we move on from that, and we move on to the final race of Saturday afternoon. Who will take it between the 2 rivals, SFC and Acme Racing?
The 133 on the left-hand side of your screen, that's SFC. The all-green machine of Team Acme Racing on the right-hand side. And the 2 championship rivals as well. 133 from the number 8. Of course, ahead of the final race of the day. Big shout out to all of the marshals here at Hooton Park, to all of the FAB-Racing team. Motorsport award-winning marshal in the form of Lee Clowes as well. Been a part of the FAB-Racing family for a long time and does a brilliant job every single weekend. Big thank you, of course, to the medical crew and, of course, to everyone in race control here at FAB-Racing for making sure the weekend and that the rounds can be run as effectively and as efficiently as possible. The final race of day number 1 of FAB-Racing before we then get 21 races tomorrow. Like I say, SFC on the left-hand side of the screen, Team Acme on the right, in what is a battle in the championship that has now been extended to just 6 points. 171 to what will be 165 between the 2 of them. And now, eyes to the lights for the final time as Lee Clowes shuffles away off of the grid. 133 on the left, Team Acme on the right. Lights go out. We go racing for Motor Team race number 2. Equal start between the top 2, but Acme once again will take the lead of the race. Look to the inside as well from Ian Jackson. He'll go down the inside of Team Acme and slot the 2 championship rivals. That is the advantage that SFC will need on this opening lap.
The perfect start for SFC once again, proving that they can hang on to that battle at the front. And Ian Jackson making the perfect scenario as well for SFC to take more advantage in the championship. It's these early stages where we discovered that SFC was a bit weaker than Acme Racing, and now with that move from Ian Jackson is going to hinder Acme Racing's strength at the start of this race. So you feel like they've got a lot of work to do if they want to catch SFC already, and we're even less than a lap in. So this race is going to go right to the flag once again, as they both have been switched in their positions. At this point, last race earlier on today, Acme Racing was clearing off at the front, and SFC had a job to do. Now, let's see if Acme Racing can respond in the same form as SFC and possibly get the same amount of luck on their side, thanks to lap riders.
We'll have to wait and see. 12 laps, a long race in the Moto team. SFC, the 133, leading the way. A great launch from them. The inside line opening the door. Acme Racing were ambitious to try and go to the outside of turn one. It is exactly what they did in race one, and they were right to think it was going to work. But SFC opened the door, wedged it open for Ian Jackson to be tempted to the inside. And whether it was intentional or not, it was brilliant racecraft from SFC because it gave them the breathing room on the opening lap to start to run away with things. Ivana Di Francesco currently sits ahead of Matt Lindley, the 141 from the 29. That's what we're following there. Deceptively looks like a 27. I promise you it is a 29. The time on the screen, that's the fight for the standard lead as well. So two races going on. We've got the open unrestricted class and then of course the standard more regulated class. SFC and Acme overall, they're the open, and then these two here, the all white 141 of Di Francesco and the sort of the black and white 29 of Matt Lindley. That's the fight in the standard. They've also got Thomas Dudson rolling onto the rear end of them as well. And Ivana Di Francesco, Thomas Dudson came into this weekend just 9 points apart, so very crucial that Thomas Dudson gets through and wins this standard race.
Yeah, and a mention there for Team Acme Racing in second place. They've put the work in and set the fastest lap of the race, bringing that gap down to 9/10 of a second of 42.9, a whopping 0.4 of a second quicker on a small track like this. That's a big gap to make up in one lap for Team Acme Racing, clearly showing they have the capability to replicate exactly what beat them in the form of SFC in the previous race. Now, this is going to roll on all the way until tomorrow morning's race in race 3, and then tomorrow afternoon's race in race 4. 4 races for Moto Team in one weekend of FAB, and that's why this is the perfect place for you and your mates to assemble a 125 and get out there racing. Even if you're in the standard class, you're competitive enough to race alongside the open guys, because Ian Jackson and Ivana Di Francesco all there in the mix still. But right now it's these two at the front. SFC under pressure from now on.
They are. Team Acme Racing reading that gap back in. It was 9 laps to go at the line. SFC and Acme, a rivalry that will go down to the season's end at Clandau. And to be fair, Acme Racing have had Marco Pandolfo on the bike for the entire season. SFC have been swapping riders around a little bit, and well, maybe to their advantage, maybe to their detriment. We'll find out as to see how that dynamic plays out over the rest of the season. But Acme, who for the best part of the last few years have pretty much dominated Moto Team, now have got a very worthy challenger in the form of SFC. And they've been trading wins, and right now at Hooton Park it is advantage SFC. On pure pace in qualifying we saw that, and also in race number 1 earlier on today as well. We'll see what can happen at the end of the next 8 laps of racing. The gap between them creeping back under a second. SFC with the perfect response to the pace of Pandolfo on the number 8 has, well, been able to bridge the gap back over a second with a lap time 0.2 quicker. Fight for the standard lead though, as Ivana Di Francesco on the all-white 141 still has Matt Lindley applying the pressure.
It's the exact response that SFC needed to try and eliminate any chance of a confidence boost for Acme Racing to get back into the lead of the race. It is now a mental game with a bigger gap than what was earlier on today between Marco Pandolfo on the Acme Racing bike and Sam Klaus on the SFC bike out front. Of course, he rode the bike at Lid and took the SFC bike to the championship lead coming out of that one. And we're watching one of the big 3 that were at Lid, Ian Jackson, currently defending 3rd place. What can he do, though, to defend from Ivana Di Francesco, who looks like is starting to lose a bit of ground? And behind him, Matt Lindley trying to join the party as well. Thomas Dudson, the championship leader coming into this in the standard class, has got work to do. Look, my apologies for that was, of course, Ivana Di Francesco, the championship leader. How can you forget the amazing podiums that he scored at Clay Pigeon, overall podiums even. So another great performance from him to take home some strong points. But Matt Lindley, definitely not done yet. The number 29, looking to get up the inside at some point. 5 laps to go, and 5 more laps for Matt Lindley to find his way through. As he maybe looks down into turn 1. That's not an easy move to make on these bigger bikes, but it's definitely not something out of the question.
Not at all. Over halfway through this race, Ivana Di Francesco is still feeling the pressure, of course, with the championship on his shoulders, and also Matt Lindley over his shoulder into turn number 3, parking the bike in the middle of the road to give Lindley the choice. Do you want to risk a tight line towards an early apex hairpin, or do you want to try and go around the outside? Ultimately, Lindley choosing the right decision is to back out of that respective battle. Thomas Dudson can only watch. He really can't get involved at this stage, but he needs to if he wants to get involved in the championship campaign and to limit the damage, or at the very least maybe claw back some points on Di Francesco. His next round at Ella Park will, go over the halfway point of 2026. Time of the essence. The championship lead, less of a novelty. At this stage of the season, you really do need to be picking up those points if you want to be a Moto Team champion in FAB-Racing. 5 laps to go as we'll cross the line. SFC from Acme, the gap still flirting. Just over a second is down the inside. Matt Lindley will take the lead in standard. Thomas Dudson gets the drive off of the hairpin as well. Will not have enough, though, to challenge his championship rival. What a move that was from Matt Lindley. Up in a P4 overall, but crucially, it's the lead in the standards.
A great move from the number 29 machine to make his way onto the back of this podium battle, which he's quite far away from, unfortunately. Ian Jackson at the moment in third and doing a great job to come back after being absent from Clay Pigeon. But SFC clearly showing that this Moto Team Championship presents a bit of a tug of war between Acme and SFC. We have a weekend of SFC dominance at Lid, and we have a weekend of Acme Racing dominance at Clay Pigeon. Clear dominance that was. And now we're seeing SFC come back to the plate and stepping up back to the top step. So I think that's going to continue for the rest of the season, and it's going to go right to the final race at Clandau between those two teams. It's going to be a fantastic season. Make sure you stick with us watching it live or on the grid with your own bike.
Don't doubt it in the slightest. Moto Team, one of the most accessible and crucially affordable forms of motorsport in the UK. Of course, you can share the cost because you can share the bike. 4 races and 2 qualifying sessions over the course of a weekend in and amongst practice. So very easy for you to, you could get 4 mates if you, 3 mates if you've got that many somehow, or you could split it with a mate. You could do 2 races each and a qualifying each and split the costs and score some points. And very accessible. The Moto Team paddock, they welcome new members. They have a very welcoming atmosphere. In all fairness, they love to help new people learn and get into the sport, get eyes on the sport. Jamie King, one rider who recently was doing that, of course, at the Wheels Festival in his hometown of Great Yarmouth just a couple of weeks ago, and got a lot of people interested, and hopefully they will get themselves in touch. So find all the details, of course, on the FAB-Racing website if you are interested, and hopefully we'll see you in the paddock next time out at Ella Park. Lap and a half left to go, though, in Team SFC versus Team Acme. A huge chunk of time taken out that last time from Team Acme. A new fast lap of the race, 42.499, taking out 0.5 of a second from SFC. The gap firmly under a second now.
Yeah, SFC will be feeling the pressure, but I think they can sail right to the flag as long as they don't run into any issues. But a brief pointer, I think lap traffic might make another play in this. However, where do you go through if you're Acme Racing? Of course, Marco Pandolfo on that bike chasing down Sam Clowes. It has to be at the hairpin on these big bikes. There's not really anywhere else you can go through. And now, with lap traffic clearly non-existent for the rest of their lap, there's no opportunity. So SFC, straight from the start, they needed that. They needed the drama of Ian Jackson going through on Acme and taking their advantage away off the line. But now it is the perfect opportunity for them to gain points in the championship. And with their comeback comes a second win here at Hooton Park. If they can just stay on it now around this last corner. They were pressured on the last lap, was the number 333 machine, but it doesn't matter because they're at the flag, a wave behind as they let them know, yes, we're back on the top step once again as SFC take 2 out of 4 at Hooton Park.
Yeah, that was cheeky to say the least from SFC, but a nice rivalry, and good that they're sharing the fun as well. Acme Racing once again finishing within 0.6 of a second of the race lead, coming perilously close, and what a battle that we're seeing. In the standard class, it was Matt Lindley that was able to fend off the attack from Ivana Di Francesco, who himself was able to hold off the attack from his championship rival of Thomas Dudson. We're running through the full results now as we rack out the 11th and final race of the day here at FAB-Racing. Team SFC win by 0.6 of a second from Team Acme Racing and extend the lead in the championship. Ian Jackson, podium overall and podium in the open class as well from Matt Lindley. Ivana Di Francesco, your top 5 with Thomas Dudson in 6th. Phil Mappebeck, Mario Gelli, Adam Harris and George Knights, your top 10 after 13 laps of racing. SFC will extend the gap in the championship to what will be 11 points now from Team Acme. But that very quickly, the tides could turn when we go to race 3 and 4 tomorrow.
Yeah, these next two races are going to make a big difference. More races allows for more mistakes, and it also allows more points to be gained. So don't think it's just because I said these two are so strong. SFC and Acme are going to be the only ones in this title fight. There's still plenty of time left for new teams, new riders, and new faces as well to catch up in the championship standings.
More races coming tomorrow, of course. Make sure you are tuning in from around about 10 a.m. tomorrow for those in the UK. Make sure, of course, you translate that to wherever you're watching around the world. I know we do have quite an international reach here at FAB-Racing, those in the States and across Europe and the rest of the world as well. The eyes, of course, on the stars of the future. Nice to have your support. Thank you for your company over the course of the last 11 races. And like I say, 21 more to come tomorrow. Races 2 and 3 for the majority of our classes, and races 3 and 4 for our motor team class as well. Riley, I mean, it was hard to pick a favourite out of that one. We saw some, well, heated racing out on circuit. Obviously, the heated weather as well to go with it. But, I mean, ultimately, such a good race, such a good day of racing as an overall. Championships still to be decided. That narrative still sort of flourishing as such, particularly in the 50s, in the extremes, in the 70s. There's so much drama, so much tension, and a lot of excitement heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. I can't even... I'd have to say it's undoubtedly the best racer today was GP50. So dramatic. Huge dives from Ratcliffe and Pereira. Pereira waiting until the very last possible moment to make the move work and took Caelan Ratcliffe by surprise. It was when he was on the inside that Caelan realised, hang on a minute, I need to get the switch back here or I've lost the race. So he tried everything and it wasn't enough. But we come back tomorrow for another race. 2 races for every class bar on Sunday, of course. And Caelan Ratcliffe will be looking to set that right.
Indeed so. Well, for those of you that unfortunately did not catch the action from earlier on, what we are going to do is take a step aside and give you the action from earlier on this morning. So myself, Zach Sweeney, Riley Davis will leave you with the first races from today to give you just a bit of a taste of what's to come from tomorrow.
Not only SFC, but Ian Jackson, who's back for Hooton Park.
Indeed so. Quick run through, by the way, of the championship. Only 1 point separates the top 2 in the open category. SFC ahead of Team Acme Racing. Only 2 wins going the way of Team SFC, though. And I say only. It was the final 2 races back at Lid, where Team Acme Racing, Marco Pandolfo, dropped the ball a little bit. He finished P2 and didn't even finish the final race either, race number 4. He bounced back understandably and swept Clay Pigeon to claw the points back in the championship, but just a point between the 2 of them. Adam Harris, though, coming off the back of 4 third places at Clay Pigeon, sits 60 points off the back of the top 2, so it is turning into a bit of a 2-bike race at the front of the Open. Ivana Di Francesco leading the way by just 9 points, though, in the standard class from Tom Dudson.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, overall, between the 2 classes, Thomas Dudson didn't actually manage to get on the podium at Clay Pigeon, and he'll be really upset with that, seeing how strong Ivana Di Francesco was and getting that championship lead taken away from him. So here, Thomas Dudson are going to be looking to take victory.
Building our way on to the first race of the day. This is their formation lap, so we'll run you through the grid. It's SFC and Team Acme Racing, a titanical front row of the grid. The 2 championship rivals coming into this weekend separated by a single point, and SFC needing to bounce back after Acme's domination down in Dorset. Behind them, though, the 29er Matt Linley from the 141 of Ivana Di Francesco share row number 2. Ian Jackson alongside Thomas Dudson with Mario Gelli and Adam Harris, the front 4 rows. Phil Joyce and Lucas Reed complete the top 10 with George Knights, Phil Mapplebeck, Madison Marslew, Dean Quincy from the Gold Member Bike. Then comes Peter Appleton and Daniel Baker, your 17th and final rider to take to the start of this one. There's our Flag Marshal Lee Clowes, a loyal member of the FAB-Racing paddock, getting themselves lined up out on the grid. We've got Scott Dermott on the start lights to get this race underway. There you can see them on the gantry. Scott Dermott eagerly awaiting. He's got a bit of power under his fingers. He gets to get the first race of the weekend underway here at Hooton Park, with SFC and Team Acme Racing sharing the front row. Like I say, crucial championship implications between the 2 of them. Final checks and preparations, I suppose, down on the grid, awaiting the start of this race. And again, for Moto Team, I cannot emphasize enough that we have got SFC and ACME, the front row. It's ice to the lights, and we go racing for the first time today. An equal start between the top two as SFC will be alongside Team ACME. That green bike, though, will soar around the outside of turn number 1. We know how important that race to turn number 1 is going to be. And Team ACME, who've struck first blood, they will lead as they ascend up towards turn number 3. The golden overtaking opportunity. ACME, front row in qualifying, take the lead on the opening lap.
Number 1 rule, especially on these big bikes, is get into the lead at turn 1. And that's exactly what ACME Racing did. A fantastic job from him to get into the lead. Now, what can Team SFC do to respond to Team ACME? Sam Claus back on that bike after a brief time off at Clay Pigeon. He was there at Lid and he did an incredible job there. So Team ACME Racing might have a bit more of a rival in this one, as they're now also being trailed by a few more bikes behind them that can really make an effect on this battle. But SFC and ACME Racing have definitely been the top two to look at, and now you're seeing them pull away from the rest of the field. We've seen SFC at Lid and Clay Pigeon, even the two different riders, being stronger towards the end of the race and coming along in a battle or in terms of raw pace, as we have unfortunately had a rider down, the number 23, that is Lucas, and unfortunate for them for their race to end so early, but already, as I was saying, Team SFC hanging on incredibly well to Team ACME and possibly waiting for a chance toward the end of the race to spring an attack.
Indeed, so the gap growing, though, as we tick our way on to what will be the third lap of racing. 2 completed, and a new fastest lap of the race for Team ACME Racing, a 43.559 compared to the 43.876 of Team SFC. So the battle in the Open Championship now has grown to over a second. Not really much that SFC have got in the tank in order to go and chase them. We saw there a brief battle. That was the 27 of Daniel Baker versus Klaus on the gold member bike, the number 3, and a ride and ride format for this year. And that's the beauty of Moto Team, is that it's not the rider that scores points. Well, they're the one that obviously finishes the race, but it's the bike that actually has the championship tally against them. So you can swap out riders as you like. And of course, the gold member bike, I think, booked now for here at Hooton and at Three Sisters also through the rest of the season. Check some availability, see if you can get yourself on the grid here at FAB-Racing. There is the 27 being chased after by the, well, what should be the number 3, half a second between them as they cross the line. Also very close between the 888 of Madison Martelou and the 287 of Dean Quincy. The gap at the front, though, interestingly, back under a second. SFC have been able to stabilise the pace and stay on top of Team ACME.
Yeah, it's the perfect class as Moto Team for racing with your buddies and just having a good laugh out there. And it's a great budget-friendly class as well. But I'll tell you who aren't buddies at the moment: Team ACME Racing and SFC, who are now going head-to-head for the title continuously. After ACME Racing, a dominant round at Lid, I will remind, a few issues for them at Lid which hindered the points scored. But nonetheless, they know how strong SFC can be in the latter stages of the race. So I think, as you just said, a bit stabilising the pace a bit more, and we're going to see that build and possibly a close finish between them once again.
9 laps left to go here for the first race of 11 and the first of 4 for Moto Team this weekend. Look over the shoulder and what was a very intense battle. Running there with the 27. Registered as Daniel Baker on the timing screens, but I'm not 100% convinced that that's Daniel Baker that we're following there. Potentially Mario Gelli, but like they're only separated by a quarter of a second. Out of the front, there's a stretch once again. Team ACME respond with a 43.0. So they've gone quicker than SFC's pole time. There's the 27 there. You can see Grass tracking off the final corner, running wide and gets overtaken as they cross the start-finish line. I think that is Ian Jackson versus Matt Lindley, potentially running wide at turn number 1 as well. An absolutely outrageous previous couple of corners there. They've been able to get themselves back going again. Potentially an issue as they look over their shoulder on the back straight, but not at all what you want as with still such a long time left to go in this race.
Yeah, he just got a little bit carried away, went on the grass, tried to maybe earn a little bit back of what he lost into turn 1, got a bit greedy on the brakes and probably didn't consider the fact that their tyres may have been dirty down into turn 1 and unfortunately went into the grass. But still plenty more time left in this race. 7 laps to go and there's still a chance for them to get back in the fight. But Ivano Di Francesco here hanging around in good pace as well, trying to keep the lead of that standard class championship. At the moment, Ian Jackson on our timing screens up into 3rd, so a good return from them after not being present at Clay Pigeon.
SFC have got the pace, just not quite got the consistency to take the challenge to Team Acme Racing. They've responded with their own 43.082. Again, quicker than they did just earlier this morning in their qualifying session. The gap still, though, 1.1 seconds between our two leaders. Following this battle here, though, we've got the 28 of Ian Jackson versus the 141 of Ivano Di Francesco. That all-white bike is Ivano, currently running in the standard class, and what we've now got is an inter-class battle. So no separation in terms of championship points in this one, but still an on-track battle as they'll go side by side on that run towards turn number 1. Ian Jackson, 3rd place overall, 3rd place in class. Ivano Di Francesco, 4th place overall. He won in class right now. He's got a lot more to lose in this battle.
I will note as well that we may have seen a mistake there from Team Acme Racing, as on the timing screens, SFC have closed from a second to half second. As we can see them outside the commentary box window. They are challenging back markers, and that is going to make a big effect on this race, as it always does in Moto Team. Already, SFC taking the charge in the second half of this race and getting back involved in the fight for the win. It's not going to be long until we see some overtakes.
With quite a big disparity, between the front and the back of this grid. Back markers and lap traffic is something these riders have to deal with. SFC have got a golden opportunity here as the sun continues to shine at a very hot Hooton Park in the slipstream on that run towards turn number 3. It's a tight corner, but down the inside, SFC will go for the lead of the race. A golden opportunity for them with 5 laps left to go. The switch back, though, for Team Acme as they'll drag race towards the double apex left-hander at turns 4 and 5. Back underneath, though, Team Acme have got a double switch back into the lead of the race. SFC battling away with them as well. Reminder, just 1 point separate these two in the championship through the chicane and towards the final corner. SFC have been given a lifeline in this race, and they did not hesitate to take it.
Yeah, Sam Claus on the Team SFC bike. He knew that if he let Team Acme Racing get away again, it might be curtains for the race with only 4 laps to go, and now he's still right on the back of Team Acme Racing. He's going to send every dive he possibly can because he knows the pace is better for Team Acme Racing. And here comes another one as he tries to go the inside. That got close. I don't know if he got the inside line done there. He did. Wow, incredible. He set up the exit absolutely perfectly. Couldn't have done that any better, and now responds with no way through on the inside for Team Acme Racing. Perfect maneuver, perfect defense from Team SFC, but now it's their turn to lead this race. Can he hold on to it this time with Team Acme breathing down his neck?
The momentum has shifted in this race for so long. For the first 5 laps, really, you thought Acme Racing were going to run away with it. They hit a little bit of lap traffic, and SFC straight back into the mix, and a golden move there into turn number 3 for the 133. It was amazing. They teed it up the lap before. They executed it the lap after. Acme Racing having to sit the bike back up through turn number 3. We'll see them through. Really widens up on the exit. You can get on the power so early. Acme Racing looking to the inside, trying to apply a bit of pressure to the rear end of SFC, but to no avail. 2 laps left to go at the line, though, and Acme Racing still over the rear wheel there of the race leader, side by side as they approach the chicane. SFC all over the white line there, trying to defend. Penultimate lap of the race, and it comes down to the 2 championship leaders.
Yeah, that moment away at Clay Pigeon for Sam on the SFC bike, you would have thought maybe just ruin his rhythm a little bit, possibly just needing some more time on the bike, but definitely not, proving that he can get straight back on that bike and challenge Team Acme Racing for this title all the way to Clandau at the end of the season. A lap and a half to go now, and he's done a great job to maintain this lead. I said it multiple times at the start of this race that SFC will get stronger as the race goes on and eventually make a challenge. They just needed a little bit of a reason to push for it when they saw Acme getting held up by back markers, and that lit a new spark in his challenge for the race win as Acme goes for the wider line to try and cut underneath. There's not enough space there at the last corner here at Hooton Park. Here we go then, the last lap. Can Team Acme Racing invent something fantastic to take the victory away from Team SFC and deny them a return to victory?
Through the first corner, using the pit lane to open up the entry as much as possible. Very Redgate-esque. If you think of turn number 1 at Donington Park, using all of the available track space. Good overtaking opportunity here at turn number 3, but not quite close enough for Marco Pandolfo on that all-green number 8 of Team Acme. Look to the inside, maybe through the long double left-hander at turns 4 and 5, but again, not quite close enough there. SFC doing just enough in order to hang on to this victory, to end the 4-race win streak, and to get SFC further ahead in the championship. Currently, 1 point separates them through the final corner. They'll twist the throttle, they'll get the power down, the checker flag will fly. SFC will take victory in what was a brilliant drag race between the two of them to the line. Just over a tenth of a second between Team SFC and Team Acme Racing. And potentially the tides have turned once again in a very dramatic Moto Team Championship. Ian Jackson, some 14 seconds later from Ivano Di Francesco, who will take victory in the Moto Team Standard class as well. P4 overall for him. But the talk of the town, Team SFC, Team Acme Racing, once again, incredibly close on that run to the line.
The big three are back. The big three that we saw at Lid, SFC, Acme Racing, and Ian Jackson. They provided some incredible action at Lid, and we finally have some more of that here at Hooton Park. It was brilliantly judged by SFC to take advantage of those lapped riders in front of Team Acme Racing. And Team Acme Racing, it's similar to what we said about Sebastian Gauslowski at Lid earlier. It's not his fault, really. He did everything he could there in terms of pace, but it just didn't quite work out. More opportunities, though, with 3 races still to go. Team SFC then take victory. Marginal gains over Team Acme Racing in the championship, but positive nonetheless. Ian Jackson returns to the podium in third. Then we've got Ivano Di Francesco taking victory in the standard class, finishing fourth overall ahead of Matt Lindley, Thomas Dudson, Mario Gelli, Adam Harris, Phil Mapplebeck and George Knights. A really great race to start proceedings here at Hooton Park. Let's hope we get some more of that.
Indeed, so a brilliant race to, start the weekend, in all honesty. The first of our 11 today, done and dusted. We get 21 more tomorrow as well. And there you can see, the support track sides, and big congratulations to Team SFC for their respective victory, and also to Ivano Di Francesco for a victory in the standard class as well. And of course, with most team, they do it slightly differently this year. For the rest of FAB-Racing's paddock, the qualifying session dictates their starting position for all of their races. For Moto Team, Race 2 will be decided from the finishing results of race number 1. And important there is that Team SFC will retain their pole position ahead of Team Acme Racing. What they do need to sort out, though, Riley, is their starts. That race to turn number 1 that we know is all important and gave Acme Racing the control for the first half of the race, SFC fell short on, and they need to sort that out for later on this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly that. Team Acme Racing did an incredible job to get straight through and put the power down. Incredible pace to start the race from them. And Team SFC, realistically, if Team Acme didn't run into that lap traffic, which held him up for maybe nearly the entire lap, I don't think Team SFC would have won, plainly because they wouldn't have had that spark and that moment to say, hang on, we can still win this, and go on to set those incredible lap times to outpace Team Acme Racing, catch back up, make the moves and defend brilliantly. Racing, things happen, but you can't see that happening as seriously as it did in that race to Team Acme Racing, with how much he was held up, because that gap was already quite substantial with only 3 laps done for Team Acme Racing. But yeah, it's something that SFC need to work out, but a win start them off.
Well, the first of 4 Moto Team races done and dusted this weekend. We'll see them back out for race number 2 later on.
AC40 Pros, the top class of the mini moto classes, barring the senior mini motos, but we're talking about the young riders looking to go on for a great future, and with no slack for the senior mini moto guys, I don't think they'll be in MotoGP anytime soon, but they will be at MotoGP in the Junior British Grand Prix alongside the AC40 Pro class and many more. Make sure you're there for that. It is going to be an incredible event, just as this one is here at Hooton Park. Now, AC40 Pro, a bit of a smaller grid, bigger than what we had at Clay Pigeon, but I think a lot of riders disheartened and not wanting to enter and going off and doing something else. Maybe in Spain, perhaps, that's what we've seen a lot of riders do to help hone their skills and improve their mentality for a race weekend. But maybe not coming here and making this a smaller grid, because Noah Barfoot is unstoppable.
Well, maybe that's going to change, because Finley Styles, P2 in the championship by 33 points, by the way, yet to take a victory this season, compared to Noah Barfoot's 5 so far this season. A challenger in the championship, took pole position, did Finley Styles, by 0.4 of a second. He'll be alongside our championship leader and potentially dominator in the form of Noah Barfoot. James Dermott from Randy Carter, Harrison Dale, Jude Good and Zach Athasich, the 7-rider field. You say going off into Spain? In Spanish weather this weekend up in Liverpool, and for round number 3 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship. And nice to see the AC40 Pros out there. It's eyes to the lights for the second time today, for the first for the AC40 Pros. Finley Styles, can he get the launch that he needs alongside a worthy adversary? Lights out, we go racing. A good launch from the inside second row of the grid there. Not the best of starts, though, for the number 19 of Finley Styles. Noah Barfoot will lead them through the opening corner as Zach Athasic trails them at the back of the pack. A golden start, though, for our championship leader.
There you're seeing that amazing confidence that Noah Barfoot has shown all the way through this season, crashing in only one race at Lid in a wet race where he was still pushing in the lead, gapping everyone and saying fastest laps. That incredible confidence in himself in this class allows him to get straight out there and put the time down. Fast lap times straight from the off is what win you races. But just like we saw in Moto Team, things can change. People can get in your way. That might not happen in this smaller grid AC40 Pro class, but things can definitely happen like this heat affecting you as the race goes on. Now, these kids have endless energy. I doubt that will happen. But Finley Styles looks to be a bit more competitive and wanting to challenge Noah Barfoot this time.
Well, pace is there for Finley Styles. That is without question. The 19, though, did just get swamped off the start. It was a really good launch, I think, from James Dermott. Like I say, on the inside second row of the grid, he jumps up almost immediately up in a second. By the end of the opening lap, though, has dropped down to third. It's Noah Barfoot from Finley Styles, James Dermott in P3 from Randy Carter, Harrison Dell, Jude Good and Zach Athasic trailing in P7. Of course, these young riders still with so much to learn, so much experience to gain, and every single lap that they turn will be a lesson that they've been able to learn. Following here, though, the 27 of James Dermott, I believe just in front of the 19 of Finley Styles. Just going to wait for the timer screen to update. Finley Styles showing in second position. Right there, though, we've got the black and purple, or black and pink number plate of the 27. That, of course, is James Dermott. Directly over his shoulder is the 69 then of Randy Carter with a 2.5 second buffer, both in front and behind him. In towards turn number 3. Look to the inside potentially from the 69 of Randy Carter. Not quite close enough on that occasion, but the battle for the podium, the closest one out there on circuit.
Yeah, and here at Hooton Park, these tight corners get opened up a little bit more and allow for many more opportunities, including around the outside on these mini-motos. Outside maneuvers are incredible to see on motorcycles, and they're a little bit easier to do on a mini-moto because it's all about carrying that corner speed. Now, these being the fastest of the AC40 bikes with the 15mm restrictor plate instead of the smaller ones in the Inter and Rookies classes allows them to take a little bit tighter lines. So we're going to see dive bombs and harder exits. And a mention, actually, for Finley Styles. He's had a really consistent clay pigeon, 3 podiums in a row, second place, just staying there as Noah Barfoot continues to dominate. All it takes is one mistake from Noah Barfoot to crash out the lead and Finley Styles to hang in there in second and eventually take the win, which can eventually knock Noah Barfoot's confidence and put Finley Styles firmly into title challenge.
Noah Barfoot currently on a 5-race win streak. He took victory race number 3 at Lids and since has not lost one all through clay pigeon. He did also win the opening round of the season and, as Riley alluded to earlier, fell off in the battle against Fea Velthausen when we took to Lid in what was some testing conditions, and definitely a lesson that he has learned. 5 wins from 6 races, though not bad in the slightest. And like I say, leads the championship by 33 points. As it stands, we'll lead them by 38, but this is a battle that we're following now. The fight for third between James Dermott, the 27, in front of that white and red 69 of Randy Carter, up and under through turn number 3, forcing the 27 of James Dermott to go slightly defensive through the long sweeping left-hander. And now, of course, between Randy Carter and James Dermott, well, all through clay and all through the season, they've been trading 3rd and 4th places. In terms of a rivalry, we've got one right here.
Yeah, those two, 3rd and 4th in the championship, as you just mentioned, always trading for that final spot on the podium. And I'll tell you what, Randy Carter is going to be desperate to get on the podium here behind Finley Styles because we were bigging up their rivalry so much at Lid. They're having incredible battles for 4th and 5th, but Finley Styles turned a new page at Clay Pigeon and is showing that that pace was not a one-time thing. It is continuing here, and Randy Carter with us saying how incredible and close their rivalry is realizing that that rivalry starting to go the way of Finley Styles by a strong margin as well, with him now getting closer to Noah Barfoot than Randy Carter, who's now made his way through into 3rd. Now, the question is, after that amazing move, was James Dermott holding him up, and can he have the pace to catch Finley Styles or Noah Barfoot? I don't think so. We've only got 4 laps left after all, but mistakes can happen, pace can drop off, but Randy Carter's got some work to do, and step 1, defend 3rd place from James Dermott.
Also in the fight for the lead, I say fight for the lead, battle to mitigate the damage, I guess, if you're Finley Styles. The gap has mellowed out. It's reached a bit of an equilibrium at the front. 1.7 seconds is sort of where the gap is balanced out to be. So Finley Styles very evidently has got the pace. I think it was the first 2 laps of the race, though, that Noah Barfoot was able to get in front and get comfortable, and right now not really feeling any pressure. You rightly said, you know, a race can happen, you can fall off, you can make a mistake. For 1.7 seconds, as long as you keep your head in the game, as long as you keep it nice and tidy and do what you do best, especially in the form of Noah Barfoot with how good he's been so far this season, it's going to be a fairly simple one to keep. But the pace between them and good, I guess, stage setting for the rest of the weekend is that they are very, very close on pace, and potentially through race 2 and race 3 tomorrow, we could have a fight for the lead.
Yeah, 100%. It will just be a moment of learning for Finley Styles. He's going to be getting tired of second place by now, and he'll be desperate to change that this time round. He'll be learning from that, as you just said, finding out where Noah Barfoot is stronger and coming back later on. We see that all the way up to the likes of MotoGP. Pecco Bagnaia, his best strength in his last High Championship Challenge in 2024 was finishing second to Jorge Martin and sprint consistently, and then building on that and being better on Sunday. And that, I think, is what we're going to see from Finley Styles. As we continue to watch this podium battle, they say it's a lot harder to lead a battle than to chase it. And now James Dermott has got the easier job, but is it an easy enough job to find the way through? I don't think so. He's starting to lose a bit of time as Randy Carter is putting the hammer down.
Yeah, the gap between them has grown to about 0.3 of a second. Not huge by any means, but it does just mean that James Dermott is kept an arm's length away from Randy Carter. A lap and a half left to go here as well at Hooton Park for race number 1 of the 2 Clicks Out AC40 Pro class. Noah Barfoot leads them by 2 seconds from Finley Styles, who did take that pole position and will once again take pole position for race 2 and race 3 due to a superb effort in qualifying. Randy Carter, James Dermott, that's the battle that we're following now. 3rd and 4th on to the final lap of the race. Noah Barfoot, like I say, just has to bring it home here at Hooton Park. But who is going to be completing the at the podium? Will it be Randy Carter? Will it be James Dermott? Right now, it seems that Randy Carter just needs to keep it on the black stuff, just needs to keep it tidy, and that podium will be his for what will be, so far this season, the 3rd time, and he'll equal James Dermott. So we talk about that rivalry for 3rd. It is right here. A brilliant battle on display between Randy Carter and James Dermott, but of course the focus at the front between Noah Barfoot and Finley Styles, who has battled to keep that gap around the 2-second margin. Final couple of corners for Noah Barfoot. He will, of course, take the checker flag, will take victory in the 2 Clicks Out AC40 Pro class. Race number 1 of the weekend goes the way of Noah Barfoot, Finley Styles. And now, Randy Carter rounds the final corner, will complete the podium here at Hooton Park.
Yeah, James Dermott, he closed a little bit at the end there, and he is devastated on losing out on that final podium position. But Noah Barfoot, 6 in a row. Can he be stopped? I don't think so. He's lost 1 race this season, and I believe in that one he still finished 2nd after remounting. So he is on some incredible form, some of the best we're seeing in the FAB paddock. And I'll tell you what, some of these kids in the AC40 Pro class, they're looking to get onto bigger bikes next year and trying out bigger bikes already. I've seen Finley Styles doing a lot of practice on an Ovale. That is going to really put them in good stead going into next year. Things like this, these mental games for Finley Styles to try and find a way to close that gap as the weekend goes on. But you can definitely see that Noah Barfoot isn't as invincible as he was at Clay Pigeon. So maybe a chink in the armour that Finley Styles can find.
6 wins from 7 races in 2026 for Noah Barfoot. He once again takes victory in the 2 Clicks Out AC40 Pro class. Finley Styles completes the podium and mitigates the damage in the championship, but the lead for Noah Barfoot has grown to 38 points. Not unclosable, but definitely a nice margin to have, like I say, as we approach the halfway point of 2026. Randy Carter, James Dermott now equal in their podium amounts in 2026 as well. They've both taken to the podium on 3 occasions each, and the gap in the championship between them has extended. Randy Carter extending it by a couple of points from James Dermott, 3rd and 4th. Behind that, Harrison Dale, Jude Good and Zach Apisic learning, gaining experience and closing that gap to the front all the way through each of the weekends that they compete in. But you have to say that Noah Barfoot is on some very, very good form. He definitely has the right things for breakfast, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly that. And those tighter lines, as I mentioned earlier, they teach you how to ride a big bike, and I think we're going to see that next year. Finley Styles, maybe Randy Carter as well, Noah Barfoot. I don't want to create speculation, a rider market rumour mill going around perhaps for next year, riders going on to bigger bikes, but that confidence and level of pointing at the apex and getting on the throttle is really going to help if Noah Barfoot gets onto the bigger bikes, especially the likes of the Ovales, which we see so dominant in the GP50R class.
We'll have to wait and see what the future brings. There's been a bit of a trend, I suppose, in the form of riders rushing their way through the classes. Barfoot can definitely take his time. Nonetheless, though, that's the first race of 3 for round number 3 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship for the 2 Clicks Out AC40 Pros. They'll be back out tomorrow for race 2 and 3.
These kids go from grassroots to Grand Prix, straight from the lowest level of racing, straight to the top of MotoGP. This is the grassroots to Grand Prix AC40 rookies, and it is always a dramatic race. It's a huge grid for such tiny little bikes and kids who can be specialists on tracks that they're local to and have the experience on as well. Zach, this is going to be incredible. We've seen dominant performances in both rounds at Clay Pigeon and Lid in this class, different riders every time as they progressed instantly in the form of Albie Stone and Harry Burridge, who was fantastic at Clay Pigeon as well. But with these kids, they haven't ridden all these tracks before, and the better you know a track, especially at that age, the much faster you're going to be. So we're definitely going to see some different names in there and lap riders making a difference in this one as well.
You say different names. Harry Burridge is on pole position for this race. Eros Garrett, though, our championship leader, who has been remarkably consistent, taken 5 podiums across the 6 races, thirds and seconds, yet to take a victory. Maybe that could come today. He could well challenge Harry Burridge, who comes into this off the back of 3 race victories at Clay Pigeon on 75 points, 20 off the championship lead, and it all to gain. There you can see them, though, the army of rookies lined up on the grid.
As we now get ready, these riders will be looking to replicate that of Albie Stone and go straight to Inters. It is going to be a great race. As we look at the rest of the grid, we've got Harvey Spiller in 19th, followed by Charlie Skingle, Izzy Cook, Arlo Simmons, Ellie Kellett, Theodore Ford, Jack Irwin, Vinnie Glossop. I'm reading the grid backwards. That is fantastic. But no, this is going to have our head on backwards, this race, because the lap riders have been an issue in the bigger bike races, and it's hard to pass. These kids aren't going to be as careful and aware. So I think that is going to make the ultimate difference on who wins and who doesn't, because these kids, they don't know when to stop or calm down, do they?
They do not indeed. It can, well, take your life. It can throw it upside down, Riley Davis. As we get started for, well, the opening race of the AC40 rookies. Of course, on pole position, it's Harry Burridge, the challenger, alongside our championship leader, Eros Garrett.
All right, then here we go then, the AC40 rookies by grassroots to Grand Prix. Let's see who can get that run down to turn 1 first. We go racing. A brilliant start for Harry Burridge. Someone there on the red bike getting caught up, trying not to lock handlebars with Eros Garrett and a few other riders alongside him. But already, Harry Burridge looking to replicate that performance at Clay Pigeon. And someone down there at turn 1 and devastated, as you can tell. But more races for you to have a good result tomorrow on Sunday. Make sure you're watching that one live. Of course, we'll be back commentating on that one, but at the moment we have an AC40 rookies race to deal with. It is incredible, once again from Harry Burridge, to lead this race. Eros Garrett, though, close behind in second and hungry for a victory.
Freddie Fletcher was the one that we saw down there, the number 66. But yeah, Harry Burridge and Eros Garrett. Burridge trying to close some gaps in the championship. Has only done 1 of the 2 rounds thus far. Coming into round number 3, we'd definitely be very eager to continue the domination that we saw back at Clay Pigeon. Break the beam for the opening lap of 9, and it's Harry Burridge from Eros Garrett. The gap between them 1.5 seconds. Then comes Bobby Baker, Alfie Spedding, and Tyler J. Windard, who again comes into this round P2 in the championship. Grayson Mills in P6 from Louis Elamelec from Theo Tyler, Savannah Polden, and Jack Irwin, your top 10 right now, though. Harry Burridge, unstoppable. Eros Garrett being a decent second place runner, having that consistency. But over the course of the rest of the season, Harry Burridge, if he continues this domination, will eventually claw back the points in the championship. Right now, the gap between them will go from 20 to 15. And by the end of the weekend, if they finish 1 and 2 all the way through, the gap between them just 5 points in the championship. Eros Garrett cannot afford to only finish second. He does need to find that difference, close the gap, and overtake Harry Burridge.
It seems to be a repetitive thing in the AC40 classes. We were just talking about in AC40 Pro, Finley Styles trying to manage a win over the ever-dominant Noah Barfoot, and now we're seeing the likes of Eros Garrett and Harry Burridge go head-to-head for that same reason. And one thing I want to mention, Tyler J. Wyndham, for those who would have watched live at Clay Pigeon, you might be wondering why he's not as far up there as he was, and perhaps might just be a little bit losing confidence after what was a massive crash for him that left him quite dazed at the hairpin at Clay Pigeon. It's been a while since then, and unfortunately Harry Burridge is starting to pull away from Eros Garrett, but he is going to do everything he can to respond. He does respond. 50.0. Incredible lap from Eros Garrett. Let's see what he can do.
6 laps left to go. Harry Burridge from Eros Garrett, 2.6 seconds. The gap between the two of them. 5.3 back to Bobby Baker and P3, Alfie Spedding and Tyler J. Wyndham. Like you say, maybe knocked of confidence, but has taken 3 podiums so far this season. Only 2 riders have taken victories. It was the domination from both Albie Stone and Harry Burridge through Lid and Clay Pigeon, and maybe that is going to continue, of course, with Burridge. Battles all the way through the field. We followed there the 127 of Savannah Polden through turn number 1. She's battling away with Imogen Vivas just in front, and Hudson Vivas just over her right-hand shoulder as well. So throughway battles all the way through the rookies. And to be fair, you know, when it comes to the AC40 rookies, in years gone by, they are the youngest riders and they have got the most to learn, but sometimes they can give us some of the best racing.
Yeah, and one reason for that is the 10mm restrictors in the exhaust and engine block that is used for AC40 rookies. So that is going to make for longer corners. The riders learn to take the corners faster, and that's why we see more outside overtakes rather than the aggressive power delivery that you see with the 15mm restrictor plates in the AC40 Pro class. And that is why overtakes are crazy, they're unexpected, and crashes are definitely not at a minimum with such a large class.
Just get word from race control. The 55, Grayson Mills, has been given a penalty for a jump start. Easy to do, and we've seen it all the way through the season. And to be fair, credit to race control for catching it in a grid this large in the rookies. 5 laps left to go, though. We are just approaching half distance in this race. Grayson Mills, as a result, will drop down to P8 and some just 0.8 of a second off the back of Jack Owen in what is now a race against time between the two of them. Through turns 4 and 5, the double left-hander, double apex, Jamie King's favourite phrase off the back of his track guide. And there we can see one rider stationary off the exit of turn number 5, that run in towards the chicane. Not entirely sure as to who that is, but we have seen a couple of reliability problems and a couple of incidents as well over the course of the season. And well, that's just the name of the game when it comes to motor racing.
Yeah, this is where the kids learn to deal with those issues and come back in the next one and do better. They're going to be crying, they're going to be kicking, they're going to be screaming, and really upset about that, as we see in all forms of racing when things go wrong for these kids. But that just shows their passion to win, and a passion to win that we're seeing from Harry Burridge to put in incredible performances like this and keep this dominance going in the AC40 Rookies Championship. But will that be stopped maybe even as early as tomorrow or when we get to Ella Park? Because I mentioned earlier how some riders have more experience at one track than the other. None of these riders, well, most of these riders haven't done a full championship of FAB-Racing yet and haven't had the experience. So with 3 laps to go, Harry Burridge trying to make the most of his incredible pace, but I think it's that kind of pace and that kind of confidence that is going to carry on, and Eros Garrett has got to find a way to combat that, as the gap is now at 4.1 seconds. You feel like that is a done deal now, as long as Harry Burridge can stay on it. But Bobby Baker as well, he's in third. The gap's really big between the podium battles, but we're seeing one battle really close here.
Yeah, indeed. That's led the 77 of Theo Tyler 1.1 seconds off the back of Louis Elamelec for P8. So Theo Tyler leading the train for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, with Imogen Vivas, Savannah Polden and Hudson Heaps all applying some of that pressure. Points all the way down, by the way, to P15 in FAB-Racing. So each of these riders are fighting for championship points, and in such a huge grid like the rookies, you know, only half of the field are actually going to go and score those points. So valuable in the overarching championship narrative. The 127 there you can see of Savannah Polden, sister to, of course, Daisy, both of whom represent the House of Moto highest achieving female rider award, as has been the case for the last few years, celebrating female talent. The likes of Nelly Nuth, most famously, of course, as she ascends through the ranks. There's the battle, though. 4-way fight, the 77, Theo Tyler in P9 under a little bit of pressure. Hudson Heaps drops back behind Savannah Polden for P11 and P12, but you can see 4 riders nose to tail. Not really too much in terms of overtaking happening. There's particularly maybe the number 9 of Hudson Heaps going for one to the inside of turn number 3, but these are the environments that these riders have to get comfortable in as we head on to the final lap of the race.
Yeah, and when they run into lap riders as well, that's going to teach them to be patient and understand that there's probably a better idea to wait and let everyone else rush past you to get past this lap rider and end up putting themselves on the wrong side and then allowing you to go up the inside. But yeah, 1 lap to go. Harry Burridge on incredible form that can't be stopped at the moment, and proving that in this AC40 Rookies class, every single race we have a dominant force. As I just see him out the commentary box window dealing with some lap traffic, no problem at all. Harry Burridge, and now through the final few corners, incredible, purely incredible. We've seen it in all the races so far in AC40 Rookies. Dominance is not rare, but it is always fantastic. Another great performance from Harry Burridge, who now crosses the line to take victory in the AC40 Rookies class once again. What can Eros Garrett do to take victory? And again, Bobby Baker, how can he challenge that top 2 with such a big gap to them in front?
It's going to be difficult, but, well, all to be answered, I suppose. Over the course of this weekend, Harry Burridge now 4 race victories in a row, the most of anyone in the AC40 Rookies class. Eros Garrett still leads the championship. A P2 is enough, but the gap closes to 15 championship points. Will raw consistency be enough for Eros Garrett, or will he need to step it up, find that extra margin? Because in terms of best lap times, 0.6 of a second separate Harry Burridge and Eros Garrett. Bobby Baker, though, brilliant ride from him, will take what will be his second podium of the season. He finished P2 back at Clay Pigeon in race number 3. He finishes P3 in race 1 at Hooton Park.
Yeah, Eros Garrett still has something little to find, and that's the pattern that we keep seeing in the AC40 classes. Someone is dominant, and there's someone in second place that has to find something. And in the AC40 Rookies class, with lap riders I've just mentioned, that can make such a big difference. On that last lap, that gap between Burridge and Garrett went from 7 seconds down to 3, and I believe that was because of lap traffic. Given a few more laps where Harry Burridge is going to get caught up in more of that, Eros Garrett could have another chance. Of course, he can't control how many laps there are, but it is definitely something that he has to keep in mind. If he can just get that gap a little bit closer, it could offer him an opportunity when more things like that happen to Harry Burridge in the lead.
Yeah, the technicality of Hooton Park is challenging in that aspect because of the lap riders. And for a lot of the classes, it won't be a bit of a problem. Everyone should be fairly close on the lead lap. But with the rookies, you know, you've got riders that have done it for near enough a season, and other riders who have, you know, this is their first race meet in its entirety. So you've got a huge skill range, a huge disparity between the fastest and the slowest. Everyone's still learning, of course, but what it does mean is that those that are fighting at the front have the added challenge of having to make their way through the lapped traffic. Of course, thank you for joining us this weekend. You haven't missed anything. If you are now just joining us, we are going to be replaying any of the missing races at the end of the broadcast up here in Liverpool. The signal not ideal in the slightest, but don't worry, you will not miss any of the weekend's coverage. Round number 3 of the MasterMac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, brought to you by Motorsport Radio. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Riley Davis in the commentary box as we've ticked off what was the third race of 11 this afternoon. Next up, of course, we'll be taken to the Inters, but you have to say a brilliant ride there from Harry Burridge. That's going to wrap it up for Grassroots to Grand Prix. Thank you to them for their support of the series, and perfect, I guess, embodiment of the Grassroots to Grand Prix mission that FAB-Racing embodies as well. We'll see the rookies out next time tomorrow for race 2 and 3 of the weekend.
We now get on track for the AC40 Interclass, the final AC40 class for the day. Of course, more to come tomorrow. Make sure you're with us live on Sunday. We're not going to spoil what happened in that AC40 Pro or AC40 Rookies class race. They were some fantastic races, especially that Moto Team race. Do not miss that one. Don't miss anything here at FAB-Racing as we get ready for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interrace to come along. That was an incredible show at Lid. And something that I want to mention is Jensen Brown had quite an off round at Clay Pigeon. Are we going to see him come back? Or are we going to see the continued dominance of Austin Baton, who was on incredible form? But looking at the grid, Albie Stone, a name that we've been saying many times in this class and in AC40 Rookies only at Lid. is on pole position and showing that he might even be going up to AC40 Pro by next time out.
He's accelerated his way through the ranks, has Albie Stone, and like Harry Burridge, dominated around in the rookies. He then stepped up into the Inters, was third, fourth and third back at Clay Pigeon, and now has found some speed. Maybe he's done some testing or has just really clicked with Hooton Park. He's taken pole position for this race by just over or just under a second from Daisy Grayson in P2. She comes into this P3 in the championship, but just 15 points separate the top four of Baton, of Paisley, of Grayson and of Brown. So it is all to play for in the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass. Albie Stone alongside Daisy Grayson, Logan Paisley and Oakley Hipwell, your front two rows. The lights on the gantry go out and we go racing. That race towards turn one. A good start there from Daisy Grayson, but an even better one from the pole man of Albie Stone. Daisy Grayson, though, the number 19, a good initial start, tumbles through the pack as they negotiate the opening corner. What a start, though, for Albie Stone as he pursues his first victory in the Inters.
Yeah, Logan Paisley did a great job to get up into second, but he's now being attacked by, I think that's Austin Baton. That's a brave move up the inside of the hairpin, one of the hot spots of overtaking, and a balance of tight lines and wide lines due to it being the middle class, literally Inter, in terms of machinery. So these riders balancing all they know in the AC40 rookies and learning what they need to know for the AC40 pros. But Logan Paisley already being overtaken by Austin Baton as we see Albie Stone getting into that confidence and that zone that we saw at Lid and putting it to work here in the AC40 Inters. But it's not over yet as easy as it was in the AC40 rookies class, is it? Because he's got some company behind him.
Yeah, the competition much higher in the Inters. Albie Stone leads the opening lap, but just by 4.5 tenths of a second. Chasing him down is championship leader Austin Baton off the back of 3 straight victories. Clay Pigeon will be looking to add a fourth to that tally. Behind that, Logan Paisley. Then comes Daisy Grayson, the pink and black number 19. You can see with the yellow number plate of the number 19. She's been doing fantastically thus far this season. Oakley Hipwell from Jensen Brown. The battle for the back end of the top 5 really firing up. Then comes Casey Reeson, Lawson Dorrington, Keely Bailey and Chase Carter. The 10-rider field that we've got for the LS2 Helmets AC40 Interclass. Key bit of intrigue, though, of course, this battle that we're following right now, Albie Stone, whose victories, he knows how to win a race. He did it in the rookies. Largely not under very much pressure. Not the case in the Inters.
Yeah, it's going up to that higher class. And in fact, it might be balancing it out. The AC40 rookies was a bigger challenge for him in some ways because it was a much bigger grid. So he had to deal with rain as well at Lid and also lap traffic. And he mastered that.